2, 1.
All right, America. You wanted the best. You've got the best. The hottest man and woman in the land, Mike and freaking Destiny. Tonight, who can you trust? That's the question. Influencers? Space's host? Get a freaking break. What about Trump himself? Hey, Mr. Waltz, I'd like to talk to you about your signal app. Somebody's lying, and it could be those closest to us. Damn, that's a shame. For now, though, trust this. It is Say Something Wednesday. I'm Mike. She's Destiny. And it is 6 o'clock.
Oh, you feel that thunder roll. Every word gon' shake your soul. They don't follow, they control. Let them know, let them know. It's Wednesday night lightning, always striking. They can't touch this heat, they just typing. Mike and Destiny, yeah, they be. Say it loud, make them see. They don't do it like we do now. They don't move on like we move now. Changing lives when they speak. Wednesday night, they go beat.
Before we get started, let's go ahead and give a shout out to the one and only, the Great America Mission. The greatest, absolute greatest group of patriots that there are on the planet. Want to find out more? How to get involved with them, get in touch with your local leaders, how to make a true difference in this country. You go to americamission.com or you go to their X page, subscribe, and you can find out exactly why we call ourselves a family. Speaking of family, give a big hello and shout out to all our family of listeners on Rumble, QUX, Pill.net. Thank you guys so much. We love you, love you, love you. Speaking of communities, don't forget to join the Say Something community. You can find that link on my profile. Also, immediately follow the show. We'll have a subscribers-only space. And you can go to my page right now, subscribe. It's 99 cents a month. 99 cents. It says $1. It's 99 cents. You're going to love it. We make fun of Destiny. We talk about how she looks and her personality and what her voice sounds like on the radio. It's an absolute blast. She knows it. There's nothing she can do about it, but we get to make fun of her. That's worth 99 cents alone. So some people say it's the greatest deal. Think of it that anyone's ever said, ever of all time. It could be. We don't know that. Quite frankly, I think it is. But if you want to join us afterward, hit that subscribe button right now, though. We're going to kick this bad boy off. Down there in the bottom right-hand corner, purple pill, retweet the space. Also, leave your questions and your thoughts, and we'll get to them, and we'll read those out ASAP. Be an absolute blast. But before I introduce my wonderful, intelligent, superhuman co-host, Destiny Rezendes, please do that and go down there and make sure that you get it out so everybody can come in there and say, you are fabulous. You are absolutely, you look amazing. Quick shout out to William Shatner, Tucker Carlson, and Tom Cruise, who are always listening down the anonymous section. Right now, though, I want to turn it over to my partner in crime, my co-pilot in chaos, my ride or die remedy, my truth teller in the trenches, also known as my wing woman through the wreckage, the great Destiny Rezendes.
Destiny, Destiny.
Destiny. What's up, Des? What you up to?
Hello. How's everyone doing today?
What's the word on the streets?
I don't know. I've been out of touch today. This is this is my first go back for the past 24 hours really on X. So you guys are gonna have to update me on what's happening.
We're all about you, baby. We're just, if you don't have anything to go, guys, you know what? Thanks for showing up tonight. Appreciate y'all coming out. Destiny doesn't have anything. So our whole lives freaking revolve around her. What are we going to do? I don't understand.
I did drop a thread. I just dropped a thread. Looking at how much our public health officials got paid during COVID. It's really interesting. Fauci made about $102,000 more than the sitting president did, which I think is pretty phenomenal considering the average income in the country is about $66,000. So he made almost double the average person's salary, more than the president did. Yeah. So interesting thread. If you want to go look at that and get pissed off, please do. I'll put it in the purple pill.
So let me ask you this. So it pays that much money to put maggots and maggot flies and beetles in little beagles' ears and let them eat away at their freaking inside of their brain? Like that really pays that much these days?
Apparently. Yeah. I covered not just like direct public health officials. So I got ASPR, BARDA, NIH, NIAID, CDC, FDA officials, as well as correspondents for the news that pushed their propaganda and how much they were all paid. So, and it's all from open payrolls. So none of it's conjecture. All of it's just fact-based, based on their filings. So do take a look at it. It is accurate.
Well, let me ask you one quick question real fast. I know that you push back. I'll give you this. You're fair. You push back against everybody. So Trump, they passed that. What do you think about that? The gain
of function.
Gain of function. Goodness gracious, say quantum physics. Either way, it's both. It's the same thing, really. A lot of people, it's the same thing. But the gain of function, yeah. What do you think about that?
I had an interview this morning on Jeremiah's podcast, Jeremiah Jose. He's here on X, and on his radio show, and I was asked that question, what I thought about it, and I'll give you the same answer. I'm enthusiastic. I'm happy about it, but I'm not as enthusiastic as I would have if I wasn't a researcher. Like if I didn't already know that the last time we had a ban on gain of function, the work continued regardless, and it didn't stop a pandemic. And even to call it gain of function, if the officials that are doing the gain of function don't admit that it's gain of function and try off the term to something else, we're going to have these. So it doesn't stop those problems that did occur last time. So I'm concerned that this bill isn't as effective as people are maybe thinking it's going to be, because they could just call it a dual use research of concern. So I will be going through the actual wording of the bill to see what the actual definitions they're using, because I think that's what we're going to have to lean on moving forward. And I think that'll be very revealing. I haven't done that yet. I've been very busy the last 24 hours, but I will be looking into that more deeply.
So you're saying that you're a Trump hater? Is that what it? I mean, that's basically That's basically what you're saying. It's fine. I get it. A lot of people don't like Trump. I get it. It's coded.
Oh, I hate that backlash. Fuck you.
You're one of those XSpace hosts, right? We got to find out if you're speaking the truth or if you're just giving us staged content. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And want to give a shout out to our partner, our co-host up here, Network Access Group. I'm not sure if you're around, brother, but if you are and you want to take the mic at any time and check in with us, everything going well with you?
Yes, sir. Looking forward to this great Wednesday. Everyone knows this is the best space on Wednesday nights. It's the only place to be. So let's get into it. We got some interesting topics today. Definitely, you saw Trump and Carney meeting. There's so much to talk about tonight. So let's jump into it.
Absolutely. Appreciate you being here, brother. Appreciate everything that you guys do. Let me go ahead and go to my man. His first name is Pants, last name On Fire. George Santos. How you doing, George? Good to see you, brother.
Hey, Mike, how are you? That's actually a great intro. I never sat through the entire intro of your space, and I'm kind of jealous that I never did it for mine. And you're lucky because my slot used to be 7 o'clock on Wednesday. So FYI. But all kidding aside, no. I came in. You DM'd me. I came in for the for this title of the space. And I mean, I can talk about beagles if Destiny wants to do that, or gain of function, because I read the bill, and I can tell you that I concur. It has nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the feckless, spineless Republicans in Congress that are. It's all messaging, and it's all a game of mirrors, essentially. Equate this Congress to walking into a fun house full of mirrors. And you see yourself skinny, fat, short, tall. I mean, this is pretty much what it is. They'll message for whatever and get absolutely nothing accomplished and stall the entire Trump agenda. That talk about globalist, elitist, fucking uniparty. Like, anyway, obviously there's exceptions, but the gain of function bill is garbage. There's so many workarounds. I can drive like a bazooka through it without literally burning the paper. That's how many holes there are on the bill, and language and verbiage. They'll just change it. They'll change terminology. Essentially, they pigeonholed the entire thing to just the terminology of gain of function, which you can easily circumvent by saying, and I'm just making this off the top of my head, advanced critical action research, whatever. Like, I just pull that one out of thin air, so it's just so fucking bullshit. Like, they don't describe the actual gain of function practice. They don't talk about weaponizing viruses and the process of what would lead to being de facto gain of function, which you can just take that process and name it something else, and because the bill is a fucking horrible bill, you'll get around it. But these people don't want to stop. They don't want to stop playing God. Fauci might be dying or whatever because he's old, but there's like a gazillion Faucis lined up to be the next man up. This is literally, folks, please, just don't fall into that trap.
So let me ask you this: a couple quick questions. So one of the things we're going to be talking about tonight is a lot of the deception that, a lot of people on this site, more so I think than ever, right, is they're just, we can just tell they're bought and paid for, right? We're seeing it pop. We're seeing these people pop up left and right, totally changing their directions. It's pretty easy. What I want to know is, first of all, two questions. One, have you heard about, has Rand Paul jumped in and said anything about this bill at all? Has he commented on it? And two, what is the point? Because I agree with you and Destiny. I think like a lot of these bills, they have these huge, gigantic holes that you can drive a truck through. Well, somebody's sitting around in a room somewhere and they look at it, they have to see that hole, right? And so they put it out anyway, knowing that it's going to be critiqued. And I want to know, so one, has Rand Paul commented on it? And two, what is the point of putting it out there, knowing that, like you said, it doesn't really make a dent?
So I'm going to start backwards. They don't care if it makes a dent or not. It's a feel-good bill. You got to understand, Mike, you, Destiny, myself, most of the people on the stage, we're part of a very small group of, I want to equate it to 5% of the country who are actually paying attention and going on congress.gov and reading. And we actually understand the inner workings of politics because we're dorks. I'm sorry, folks, like it or not, we're dorks. We're that nerdy kid with the big glasses and the buck tooth. Like, yeah, that's us. I know we thought we would grow up to be a lot more fabulous, but we're not. This is us. This is our reality.
Wait, hold on. Wait, whoa.
Mike,
my mom has told me for years that what you just said is totally untrue. Okay.
Well, yeah, with a face only a mother can love.
Well, that's true, but I was special. I'm more special than everybody else, James. That's what. And I'm handsome and all that stuff. So whatever.
But I'm kidding. Look, I'm trying to be funny here, but understand, 95% of our country is not paying attention to this. Believe me, they'll read the top headline of the newspapers tomorrow. Congress passes bill that prohibits gain of function, and it's over for them. They'll probably read it, buy all the bullshit that some media hack that is being paid for by a corporate media's company to write and create that narrative and move on. That's 90% of the country, okay? 95% of the country. To answer your first question, I don't know that Rand Paul is that person anymore that really sets the sirens. I think people give him way too much credit. I'm not discrediting the senator. I do agree with him on occasion. But for instance, he tried to railroad Trump's tariff initiative. So are we going to forget about that? That was just 2 weeks ago. just reminding everybody, okay? So it's like, I'm sick and tired of resting our laurels as Americans on people. I'm sick and tired of thinking that Rand Paul or Tom Massey, and I like Tom, I like Rand, I like Burchett, I like these guys. These are some of the few people I actually like that are in government. But I no longer trust or want to, rely on them to be, quote unquote, I guess, our saviors, or are the people who are going to say the truth or are going to expose what's going on. Because at the end of the day, they also have a level of corporate interests, a corporate mentality type interest. I'm not saying corporate de facto, right? So they have agendas, they have aspirations. Rand Paul's probably going to try to run for president in 28, let's be honest. Massey's probably going to throw his head in the race for Senate or potentially governor, whichever one, makes more sense. So these people all have aspirations for bigger office or for bigger jobs. That being said, I no longer think or care, quite frankly, Mike, what they have to say. I care more about what people who do research. I'd rather sit and listen to Jennifer and Destiny debate this bill 10 times over than listen to Rand Paul give me his fucking opinion. So that's where I am at this point in my life. I'm a cynic. I've become overtly cynical. I don't trust them because, to the point of your space, they're not too different. Congress people and space hosts who get paid to push messages are not very different. The only difference is space hosts are a little bit more transparent because they're almost verbatimly telling you, I have changed my opinion, because they don't tell you like the whole because I'm getting paid, but because I had a change of heart. I had a conversation with such and so. And then they'll push that narrative. Members of Congress, on the other hand, they have their opinions who are dictated to them by their corporate PACs and how they raise money for their reelections. And that's just the name of the game. So look, pardon me if I might not. Look, I have baggage. I get that. I'm not asking anybody to believe me at face value. Don't research everything I'm telling you and then go draw your own conclusions. But here's the deal. I'm not scared to saying that they're full of shit, because they are. I was on the House floor. I've called them out on the House floor to their faces. I've called them weak and liars and frauds to their faces, and they hated it. And, they got so exacerbated with me that they said, fuck the rules, fuck due process, we're expelling him. And I'm fine. You know what? I wear it like a fucking badge of honor. So my point here is, folks, stop relying on politicians to point out issues for you. You see an issue, it makes sense to you. You find another person who's like-minded or at least even adversarial to your point of thought. Create healthy, organic debate. Try to draw conclusions, because you'll realize sooner or later that at the end of the day, every American, regardless of what side of the spectrum you're on, you all have one common ground. You want this country to succeed. You might disagree with certain antics, but if something bad is put in front of you, like this bill or like the Patriot Act, which needs to be repealed, and I commend Congresswoman Luna for having the testicular fucking fortitude to put that forward, those are the same goals we all want. Nobody likes the Patriot Act. No liberal or conservative likes the Patriot Act. So, you'll find some crazies in between, whatever, but find commonality. Start talking amongst yourselves. Stop listening to those assholes in DC. The last thing they do is the so-called representing you. So I'll yield with that. Thank you for having me, Mike.
No, absolutely, George.
And Destiny.
And Destiny. See, Destiny got a little shout out there. So, what's interesting, though, is, it's easy for us to do this with the politicians, because if I never meet Thomas Massey, I can destroy him in post and there's no blowback to me, right? But when it comes to X, what we're seeing is a lot of people that are starting to push these narratives, like some bigger influencers and stuff like that, and even smaller influencers, right? Quote unquote. I hate that word, but anyway. And it's going to be more difficult for us to call these out, because we have people on both sides of the aisles that are our friends, right? There are people that are switching and they're doing this back and forth. And so there's a lot of friendships that are going to be and partnerships that are going to be fractured, I think, moving forward. But like you said, if we're not calling things out, right? If we can't, and again, if we can't ask questions, but if we can't ask questions to the people asking questions, then all of a sudden things are going to kind of fall apart a little bit, or at least it's going to start something. It's going to be a little bit tough at first to do it. But Des, George gave you a little, I think he gave you a little compliment, said you were a pretty good researcher. So, kind of goes here and there, but we can go with that. What are your thoughts about it?
To be fair, the bar was to be better than the current politicians.
Yeah, that's true.
But I do appreciate it regardless.
I didn't set the bar that low for you, Destiny, genuinely. I'm just saying you are a really good researcher. Your threads are actually well thought out, unlike some people who just do them for clicks. No offense to anyone who does threads, but yeah, some of y'all fucking suck.
I appreciate
There you
that.
go. See, some of y'all suck. Destiny sucks too.
Some do suck. You know how frustrating it is to see these like million view threads that are like of the absolute most asinine shit. Like, what if Cleopatra was black? And then they have these AI generated photos of as if you could imagine what life was like back then.
Destiny, you now understand my pain. I do one thread. I do one thread a year. One only thread a year. And it's the critique of the White House Correspondents' Gala outfits. And I get like 30, maybe 100,000 views. And fuck, I am literally having so much fun doing it. and y'all are clicking on AI generated, what if Cleopatra was black or Jesus was black or Jesus was Asian threads. Get the fuck out of here.
It's because gay stuff gets more clicks, George, than AI stuff. It's not fair.
I community note them. I'm like, no, this is bullshit. AI generated. I'm not Karen. I'm not Karen because, like, first off, I actually put time and like legitimate sources in my threads. So it's like, it's such a just an insult. It's insulting. It's just like, really? It's just cheap. It's cheap and I don't like it.
Well, I don't know. I am still interested with some of those outfits that I saw. I saw a cat wearing a freaking piano at the Met the other day. I don't know what the hell that was, but I don't know if I could trust it. If that person was an XSpace host, I don't know if I could trust them with a piano on their back. I'm not gonna lie to you. If I ever see Grant Cardone or someone wearing a freaking piano on their back, hi, I'm Grant Cardone. I'm running for governor of California, and this is my piano outfit.
Hey,
I think I saw Zendaya and she was gorgeous.
Terrible. What's up, Doc?
But by the way, real quick, that dude borrowed Grant's piano. That's Grant's piano suit. Just FYI, Mike.
Is that a play on words, Grant's piano?
Too, so I don't know.
What's going on, Doc? How you been, brother?
I'm all good. I did want to say hi to George. They were in the room together, and yeah, sorry to see what's happening. And again, if there's anything anybody can do to help you out in this situation, we've talked about it in a number of spaces where you weren't at. There's a lot of sympathy behind the notion of commutation or pardon, and love to see it happen. There's a lot of people that belong in jail. Not a single one of them has been charged by Pam Bondi. We know all the issues. There's a lot of shared opinion in here. Disappointment in some of the MAGA promises that haven't been kept yet. But you know, some really good people fall under the boot of our justice system, and I'm sorry to see that this has happened to you.
Appreciate that, Doc. Seriously, thank you.
So it's interesting, Doc, what you bring up about Pam Bondi, and I'm a big fan of Pam Bondi's. But when you come out and you say things, and this kind of goes to the staging content, being truthful, and we all want everything in this administration to be truthful. But when you come out and say that you've got all of these video files, right? You've got them all. Like who has them? I mean, is it so simplistic of us to want someone? We just want to see a token person thrown in jail. Just throw somebody in jail over something like this.
There are so many handcuffs. There are so many handcuffs.
You know what's the most lucrative business to invest in? A steel molding, a steel manufacturer of handcuff molds. If that list goes out, whoever makes that investment, you'll become a gazillionaire overnight, because the amount of people understand this. I actually like Pam Bondi. I'm pissed at her because of how she's allowing Merrick Garland holdovers to do what the shit they're doing, like what they did to me. But I'm not going to get into that. That's, I have personal grievances there, but I can look past that. I can be a bigger man and look past that, because she is a very intelligent woman. She was a great AG to the state of Florida. And I do believe she has what it takes. My concern is what is keeping her, because it's not the president, because he's been abundantly clear, let it rip. Who has more power than the president of the United States that is keeping the attorney general so scared of releasing this list? We know there's princes and sheiks and all of these fucking people on there. So who is it that's raptured the DOJ at this point?
Can I address this legal stuff here for just a quick second? What Pam Bondi says, exactly what she says, you have to take quick notice of. One, we go back several weeks when she was dealing with the New York office and trying to get some of this information that she became aware, quote unquote, that they were holding and hadn't released up to DC. She said that eventually, within a week or so of that time, that she had all the files on her desk and she was reviewing them. That's a couple months ago now. Then she comes out, I think it was 2 days ago, or her office comes out and says, this is date uncertain now, that this information is going to be released. And she's only in the post that she made this morning, I think it was, she only references investigating Epstein's relations, quote unquote, with children and parties that need to be protected. Let me say that is all fucking bullshit. It's all lawyer speak. You don't need to complete a case investigation before you file charges. All you need is probable cause. There are dozens. There are dozens of victims who are public, have been public for a long time, have their names have been released. There's no need to protect their names and no need to not prosecute even a single person to protect the thousandth person, right? This is not an either or situation. You don't have to prosecute every single one that's implicated on the Epstein list. And that's the framing, that's the narrative, as George says, that's being put out there. And people aren't looking at her specific language. She didn't make a promise to prosecute anybody by her statement today. She says she's reviewing the criminal acts of a man who's supposed to be dead. So what the F is she doing? And George, I support a lot of what you say, but we have to consider the fact that Trump is compromised, rather than guess or allege that there's another specter out there with more power than the president. I don't think that person exists. So I think
It's Pam Bondi herself. Okay, this woman was the Attorney General of Florida, and say what you want about her tenure at the Attorney General of Florida. First of all, red flag laws, okay? Second of all, Jeffrey Epstein still owned property in Palm Beach all the way up until 2017. And you're telling me between 2007 and 2017, you, Pam Bondi, couldn't overrule the feds as the AG of Florida and arrest that man or investigate that man? This is a Bush acolyte. She has accepted mad money from Jeb ! And we should expect nothing less. She did nothing to take Epstein down when she was AG of Florida, and she's going to do nothing now, and we need to start calling it out. It is not wrong to put pressure on President Trump. It actually helps him when people start applying pressure because it gives him the runway to go after the people he needs. Okay, so this whole eggshell dance that people are doing because they don't want to piss somebody off, stop it and start pissing people off.
We got to hold Trump accountable in the same way, on the same issues, on the same principles that we held Biden and every other president to. What Jennifer says is exactly accurate and very true. The first prosecution against Epstein in Florida, right, was so he got off with such kid gloves, it was ridiculous.
He had work release where he could have girls come to his office while he was at work. He's banging them on the desk.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was a sham and a farce from the beginning. And why did Trump pick her? Knowing the connection with the Bush clan. It's not a secret what Jennifer's saying. And they're enemies. The Bushes and Trump, they don't like each other whatsoever. So Trump, in some respect, if he's not compromised, he has to be questioned. And let's take the optimistic view, as Jennifer said, this gives Trump runway, support from MAGA to go ahead and deal with an unpopular choice, which is to replace Pam Bondi and risk the ire of the left and the media calling Trump out, as they have for the last 6 years, of being a poor selector, that he makes poor choices on personnel. In this case, they have, because she hasn't kept their promises. Neither has Kash Patel, right? Where's the pipe bomb investigation? Where's the investigation into the J6 conspirators? And I'm referring to Pelosi and Cheney and Schiff. And they have the video. They have proof of what they did, and they're not doing anything. It's disgusting.
Doc, let me ask you this real fast. Is it possible that because it's only May, right? And I know we keep saying this, and we obviously can't keep saying it, but it still has been, it's still a relatively short time into this administration. And I'm wondering how much leeway and power does Bondi and Kash Patel have?
She's had enough time to at least do a probe. I'm sorry. Look, I gave that same exact speech you just gave, Mike, 30 days in and 60 days in. Now, I'm sorry. I think she's had enough time to have a probe, to have a grand jury seated. I mean, it's the DOJ. Let me put this very blunt. I just went up against the DOJ, so I can tell you the full wrath of what the DOJ is like. The DOJ is not even remotely under-resourced. Like, they can compile. Think about me. My case, I had 5 AUSAs. 5 new AUSAs for one man. You think that she doesn't have a shit ton of attorneys? She can just laser focus. They can get an indictment in freaking 24 hours on this case. This is so public. Not only, and just to make something clear that Jennifer and Doc said, the victims are predominantly all already out there, and now they're starting to die. What are we going to wait for every single one of them to miraculously commit suicide after they put videos of I'm not suicidal out? Like, what the fuck are we doing?
It's horrible. It's I love what Trump's doing on the border. I love what he's doing on trade and tariffs. He's going to help the economy, but that's the shiny object right now. What we need to be concerned about is our Constitution and the principles behind it, and that we have to be consistent. We have to call out the people that we like, the people that we support, when they engage in the very same sort of conduct that the left has done. What's the difference now? Epstein is still protected. Everyone who raped a little girl is still protected. And it's, 100 days in? Holy cow. Like George is right. It can probably take less than 24 hours because they've had 4 years to work on this. They have 4 years. How many executive orders were pre-written? Why wasn't this stuff done beforehand? Trump had his team picked. Wasn't like 2016. There are no more excuses left. We have to start holding these people accountable. If
Doc,
we care
how
about
long did it take to arrest January 6ers following January 6, 2021?
I was just
5 days.
about to
5
say
days.
that,
First
Jen.
arrest was in 5 days.
Thank you. Thank you. So there's
5 days.
absolutely no excuse. And the more we sit here and be like, oh, no, we can't say anything, it'll upset Trump. Or, oh, no, we can't do it. See, this is what happened in 2020. I got to look back and see all the times that we as a collective should have stood up and no one did. Right. And we get to have that regret. I would rather not have regret this time and look back and be like, you know what? We should have stood up against Pam Bondi when this all started and no one did. So I say we start raising the red flag that this woman, a Bush acolyte, is not releasing the Epstein documents. Who are you protecting?
But Jen, it's still, I'm sorry, go ahead, Des.
No, I was going to bring up exactly what Jen just mentioned. Like, how long did it take for them to apprehend J6ers and the extent of the technology they utilized in order to fulfill that? I mean, they used facial recognition, social media. They had informants. They had a team of hundreds of people, at least, probably thousands of people working to track down these people that just some of them just walked in there, and they took the time. And you guys have been sitting on this information since at least Jeffrey Epstein was arrested in 2019. And before that, there's records going back to the 90s. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. There was no excuse for how long it took to investigate COVID either. They are dragging their feet out of intentionality because they know that this is going to be a shit show when they start arresting people. It's going to be disruptive to the system, and they don't want to deal with it.
They still have the COVID-19 vaccination on the childhood vaccination schedule. What?
Well, not even that.
There's no reason for that.
Look at what Alex Jones.
Kennedy knows.
Look at what Alex Jones came out with yesterday. That Pam Bondi actually represented Pfizer in court. Where did that come out? Where did that come out? Tom Renz last night on Alex Jones said, oh, you know what? Pam Bondi, she represented Pfizer in court and nobody ever said anything. Like, that is a conflict of interest, and we're never going to get the COVID stuff at this point. So we have 3.5 years if we're lucky. So either we can sit here and appease Pam Bondi, or we can start pissing people off and get something accomplished.
No, that was my point too, Jen, and you hit it right on the head. You're reading my mind today, because I know, like Mike, you said, it's only been a short time. It is if it was a first administration. We have to remember this is a second administration. We only have the next 3.5 years. That's all we have. So in terms of how, if you were to expand this to a full term, this would be over the first 2 years. This is first 2 years worth of stuff that we're going through currently. So it does matter. There is, because the way the pendulum swings when it comes to the bipartisan system is that it goes really far right, and next it will go really far left. We don't know if we're going to be able to secure, or who we even have in place to be president for Republicans, if that's the, imperative to get away from whatever Democratic crazy liberal agenda they pull, you know, we only have 3.5 more years essentially. So it's you know, the time is now. Period.
So let me ask you this. You've got the people on the left, like I'm thinking about that NBC reporter that just sat down with Trump the other day, and you've got this opportunity to talk to him. And if I'm sitting across from him, you ask a question like, you had all these people, you have all these people that were accused of being on Epstein Island, all these things that have happened. People we know for a fact were down there. We have people, victims that have come out and said these things. We have all of this evidence. And Mr. President, I just want to ask you one question. How is it, right? Outside of one who's dead and the other one who's the other Ghislaine, who's in a, you know, quote, prison. Why has not a single person in any relation to this case been arrested whatsoever? Not a single one. I'm not asking you to do it, Mr. President. I'm just asking you, based on what you know, why do you think that is? I just want his personal opinion, right? Why do you think that I get it why NBC may not ask it, because there's a lot of Democrats. They're not going to throw theirs underneath the bus. I get why Fox isn't going to do it, because Fox is basically, you know, they're still the only mouthpiece for the Republican Party. So who asked the questions, Mr. President? What is your opinion, just as a human being, right? Why has there been not a single person arrested with these hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of rapes that have taken place on an island that was literally built to rape? Just throwing it out there. Just why do you think that? And why can we not get that question to anybody that can give an opinion? I don't need a fact. I want your opinion. Is that too much to ask or what? All right, I guess it is. Maybe now we know why that question hasn't been asked. All right.
No, you know, the reason why. We know the reason why. I mean, the reason why is that half the people from his first administration were, you know, implicated in crimes. And in between, you have like CIA Director William Burns. He had visited Epstein like 7 times. You know, he was the CIA Director under Biden, William Burns. And then you had ODNI Director under Biden, who was a degenerate in her own right. You had William Barr in his administration, who his father was running the Dalton Academy in New York, who hired Epstein to teach kids when he wasn't a teacher, didn't have credentials, and was a creep. And that's how he met Alan Greenspan, because his daughter or niece went there or whatever. And then he hires him for Bear Stearns, right? And there's so many people that are implicated in the administration, not necessarily. And Trump himself was friends with Epstein. There are lots of people that see this as nothing more than a career ender. They don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, because there's too many people implicated in people that are in powerful positions. I mean, no one's talked about it, but day before yesterday was the presidential running for Romania, after they already had the run in November and Kalin Georgescu won, but they didn't like that because he exposed people like Epstein and other world leaders that are pedophiles. So they said, we don't like the fact that you won. We're suspending the vote. And they're redoing it. It just happened again on the 5th. I haven't even seen the results. If anyone knows, let me know. But they are doing everything they can in every country to just distance themselves from the conversation of child pedophilia, because a lot of the powerful people are involved.
No, it makes sense. And yeah, we have some questions. So just to kind of reset the room, one thing we're talking about right now is some of the political choices and decisions that are happening out there right now that we don't understand, like basic questions that we can't seem to get answered. And I'm trying to figure out whether or not it's a truthful thing, whether or not it's deception, or whether or not it's actually like a logistics type, you know, situation to where these things need to happen in this type of order. So we're talking about this for a minute, but in a little while, we're going to be getting to XSpaces, and a lot of us that are on here, and we're going to be we're not going to be calling people out per se, but we are going to be talking about why we think that some people take certain angles and why they say certain things. And then if there's anything that we're noticing, for instance, like is XSpaces, is it free speech? Is it curated speech? Are we building communities? Or are we just having people come in and kind of control them? And are we getting more divided on here, or are we kind of integrating more? So
is there a narrative?
Is there a narrative?
Right?
Yes.
Like, is there an agenda behind all this?
And if there is an agenda, like Destiny and I were talking earlier today, when we were just talking on the phone, and we were saying, if there's an agenda, there has to be a reason why. If you're getting paid to do these things, there has to be an overarching reason why you're getting paid to do these things. But before we get to these hands, real fast, guys, down the bottom right-hand corner, just retweet the room real quick. Let's get a couple more people in here because I want to get some opinions, get some people up on stage. And
I want to let everyone know we got a lot of requests. We will get to you. We will
absolutely
cycle people through. If we cycle you through at some point, don't get offended. It's going to happen. We'll bring you back up if you really want to. And I know that Carrie's hand was up first, and then we had Shane, but Mike, I don't know where you were.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead. Or did you call Carrie? Oh.
No, I think we got Carrie up first.
Carrie? Right? Let's give Carrie a big proper...
I'm sorry. I was retweeting your space, so you could have had the other gentleman.
Destiny's a rookie, Carrie. I appreciate that. You know, she doesn't know how to give proper intros. You know, it's
I really appreciate y'all and appreciate you, Destiny, for all the research that you do. And I agree, you know, this OWL and all this chat GPS, it's not good because I brought up 2 kids. So they went to college and everything, got their jobs, but they didn't have a robot like Chat GPX, or I'm sure you can incorporate that in what you do somehow and make it more, you know, a little bit more faster. But if you have a question about something, I think you're just cutting yourself short by going to that. That's just my opinion. I think kids need to learn like we did. I mean, not just go to a GP. They need to do the research, but anyway.
Well, Carrie, let me ask you a quick question real fast. So I was in Diligent Space the other day, and he had a grok. I don't really know how to describe it, but he had grok
I saw that
in the space. Yeah. And so he was literally fact checking, which I think is a very interesting, because facts are the most important thing, right? Facts that we can at least agree on that these are facts to the basic elements, right? And so he had grok in there, and he was talking about, he was fact checking some things, and there was a couple things that kind of caught us off guard. Like we fact checked some things about a certain bill and things like that. And it turns out that it was true. So what are your thoughts on that as far as using a Chat GPT or a grok or something like that to do fact checking?
I think that's great. But I mean, how is a kid supposed to learn since we don't have encyclopedias anymore? I mean, where do they go to do research paper? I don't know. You know, I really don't. So all I'm saying is I just think that's great. They have something to go by, but it should be limited. They need to look and be more resourceful. Do you know where I'm coming from?
No, I agree with you. No, I agree. And I think that's what we're doing in this. What we're talking about today is we're going to be, we're talking about the truthfulness of what's coming from the government and also what's coming from our friends that are in these spaces with us, right? And I think that, look, it might be a way that I don't know if an encyclopedia or something like that's going to help us figure out what the truth is.
I don't even know how they look it up anymore, to be honest. I mean, with papers and, I don't know. But anyway, this Pam, changing the conversation a little bit. I know my time is limited. I have a few things. First of all, is George on here?
No, he stepped down.
Oh, George. Okay, I wanted to say.
You can still call him names if you want to. I'll clip it and send it to him and make sure that he hears.
Okay, I'll just wait till the end. But anyway, I agree with y'all. This Pam, I can't believe Pam hasn't arrested someone. I mean, that surprises me because look what they did to the January 6ers. It can be done now. And I've heard, Longino and Cass Patel. I mean, they say it takes time, yada, yada, yada. But come on. I think it's, just look of the kickbacks that from Ukraine, from all the politicians that have received money. I mean, why can't they get arrested for that? I mean, why? Can someone answer that?
Well, I don't know. I don't think we know why. I think that's the question is, we come on here and we talk about things. But
they have a list of all the people that got a kickback from Ukraine. And of course, our previous president on the top of the list.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
And then it was Nancy Pelosi. So don't you think if they, I'm not sure if it was 20 million or 20 billion. Okay. When you get arrested, I think I would get arrested if that happened to me today.
No, I think you would, Carrie. Those are great, and those are great questions. Let me ask before I go to Shane real fast. Let me jump over to Jennifer. Jennifer, you look. Obviously, I know that you still have a huge passion for the January 6th and the things that those people went through. So, why was it so easy for them to do that as opposed to doing this now? Like, what is it? Just because expediency, because they hated the people on January 6th, or what?
Well, I think the first major thing is that our elected officials were not following the law as written. They, in a lot of cases, were operating in gray areas, right? Or if they were even, operating like within the law is questionable. And because they had to, right? The whole thing about January 6th, right? It was the entrapment at the Capitol, right? But then you had to, what's the word I'm looking for? Villainize, right? Everybody who was MAGA, anybody who was willing to stand up and put their ass on the line in order to prove that President Trump had won the election, they needed to immediately vilify those people, right? So that's why you saw the active campaign of the FBI putting up billboards all across the nation telling you to turn in your neighbors like something out of World War II Germany, right? Like they knew what they were doing, right? And for what it's worth, right? The Democrats are evil people, right? But they had a plan, they had a playbook, and they stuck to it. By God, they stuck to it no matter what, right? And now, right, our people, and I yelled about this last night because it really pisses me off, is the fact that we still have people in Congress, we still have people in other positions that turn around and go, well, Jen, we can't stoop to their level. I'm about to freaking kick you under the fucking level if you're not careful. Okay. Because, like, what are you talking about? We can't stoop to their level, right? Like, no, it's not stooping to a level. You set the standard and we're living up to the standard that they set. We didn't set the playing field. They set the playing field when they started arresting people without them even committing crimes.
So you're saying that because our strongly worded letters, they're not enough? Because the Democrats tell us exactly what they're going to do, right? And our strongly worded letters are our response every single time. We have people that are going to be coming up to Capitol Hill and going to be testifying in front of a committee. And why is it that I don't believe that we're going to get a single thing from that? Why? Like, man, I don't know. I've been kind of frustrated lately because it feels like that everything is freaking broken. I'm already pissed off at a lot of. I'm going to go into a rant. I'm not going to let Jennifer freaking suck me into it. She's laughing with freaking Dustin probably in the background right now.
Don't do it, Mike. Don't do it.
I feel like I got to do it. I feel like she's baiting me. I can't help it. Shane, say something to calm me down. Explain to me why Pam Bondi maybe could say, like, she has a truckload of documents. That doesn't mean anything. Well, there's sensitive information. There's over 200 victims. I don't believe it. Like, why can't you get one person, redact one thing about one of those victims and just start with that? Start with one victim, clear everything up, make sure everything's done, redact whatever you got to do, and get one person freaking arrested for basically raping a little kid on a private island.
You know, I'm actually glad Doc's in here because I don't want to come across as a Trump apologist. So I want Doc to push back because this is something that's been bothering me for a little while. Like, I look at what happened with Biden, and yeah, sure, we can just say he was out to pasture, so to speak, right? But I'm starting to wonder if the presidency isn't more of a walled garden. Think back to Trump's first term, everything that happened with COVID, and he came out of it thinking he was a hero. You know, you think at some of his reactions when he gets left field questions, it's almost like it's news to him. And I really wonder if the same way mainstream media tries to control all of us, if there isn't like this walled garden around the presidency and they are limited to information. And I get it, right? So it's like I'm making an excuse for Trump. And that's why I'd really like Doc to push back, because the more I look at him and his responses to questions he wasn't prepared for, it reminds me of what happened with Biden and the auto pin situation and the LNG, executive order, like it was news to him, right? So I don't know, Doc, do you think there's a possibility the president is being insulated from what's actually happening? He could be getting reports that things are progressing when in fact they aren't. If not Doc, someone else.
I was like, yeah.
We just keep Doc up on the stage for his good looks.
He doesn't know what's going on. Oh, fuck you, Mike. The idea he doesn't know what's going on, it would be way worse of a situation, I think, because that would obviously mean that somebody else is more powerful than the president directly in matters that matter to the American public. And so that would be a huge problem. And I don't want a political leader who's the guy who's got the nuclear codes. I don't want that guy to not be in the fucking know and not be in control of shit. Like, there was a usable excuse for some of the downfalls of Trump's first administration. There are some good excuses. He had in swamp people. There were people like Fauci and Deborah Birx and people like William Barr and people that we just know in general were not in the best interest of Americans in position. And so we can use that and be like, okay, well, those failures we could put on these people who were in there, but this is the second time around. And he campaigned on not having the swamp in there and getting them out and making sure that he wasn't surrounded by people like that. So if that's the case and they still exist, that means not only did the administration fail to remove these people, but we as the public have failed to call them out and demand their removal as well. So it's a much scarier situation.
Can I jump in here?
You're the fourth co-host, Jen. You always
Thank you. So Shane, to answer your question, you're probably not going to like my answer. So to be completely honest, the information control going into the Oval Office and what Donald Trump sees is like guarded, right? Like, and there's been other people who have come up here who would know. And said that there are still personnel problems in the White House, right? And this is where I'm kind of like coming from, right? Is that we as Americans don't want to look back and say we should have said something, right? I'd rather, do it and ask for forgiveness later, right? If I was wrong, I was wrong, right? But from what I know and what happened in the first term is that they were, it was like a pipeline, right? And they were controlling the information, right? Because Donald Trump has his stuff printed out. Now he does have the new girl in there, the printer girl, right? There's a girl that follows him around with a printer all day, like a tiny one. So I would hope that it's gotten better than it was in 2016. But if I'm just going off of the first term, they were severely impacting the information that President Trump was actually able to see coming across his desk.
And does anybody know what the actual justification is from Pam Bondi for taking money from Qatar and registering as an agent for them? I mean, that seems crazy. You can look it up. She was getting like $100,000 a month at some point.
That's another thing that I'd love to know the answer to.
115 per month, 1,000.
I mean, when you're wrapped with the bushes,
insane.
Things like that usually fall in your lap. So I'm not really that shocked. It's the fact that no one's called her out for being a Bush acolyte and a Jeb ! Friend. Right? Like, if you don't think those connections make a difference, especially when the Bush family is on their ass, right? And they are clawing for anything they could possibly get to fuck Trump up. You don't think they'd use Pam Bondi and get her in there as AG? Come on, people. Come on.
How much did she take from him?
Well, she took
Added up over the years.
Just said, what was it?
So she was registered as an agent for Qatar prior to his impeachment. Then when he got impeached, she left and went to the White House and she stopped being there, I guess, stopped lobbying for them. And then when she came back, she started doing it again. So when I looked into it, it's actually really interesting to see the amount of money that was coming from Qatar to a lot of places and a lot of people around that time. And what's, the amount of time that she did it, like when you look at the documents to see what she registered and what was on there was no information at all as to what she was lobbying for. And that's what's crazy, because I went through and I looked at them. And then there was something.
What?
Huh?
I'm sorry. I'm just like go ahead. I don't understand this. What are you
really post about this yet, because I was trying to do the research and better understand it, and again, it's because you say any fucking thing, you get attacked on this app, and I've already had my fair share. If I didn't take that many this month, I probably would have just went ahead and did it, but I was like, hold on, let me just take a little break.
I gave you a layup, didn't I, Maze? It's funny because I'm old enough to remember what, prepaid calling cards were for. I'd buy a prepaid calling card. That thing would last me for a year. I'd call home to my girlfriend from school. So this idea that she stopped getting paid once she went in, we all know what happens to politicians when they leave again. So I don't know. Seems sus to me.
I thought it was.
What are you going to tell me next day?
You guys haven't mentioned, and that is, remember when Matt Gaetz crashed, and they really had to get him gone. They did everything to claw that guy out, and Matt Gaetz was the fighter we were all hoping on. But nobody really fought that hard about Pam coming on in. It was like, okay, Bondi, good. We don't have Gaetz, so we'll go ahead and put up with her. Well, now we know why. And
hold on real quick. So what are you going to tell me next? That Kash Patel's girlfriend is former intelligence of a foreign entity or something? Is that y'all?
IDF.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. She was born in LA, right? And then she went and became foreign intelligence and came back over here. I do
want to bring up to you guys that the Benny show yesterday, and they just played it on War Room today. I didn't know it. That Comer was on. And, he's been investigating the whole Epstein files thing, too. And what he said is to Benny, well, don't you think all this stuff has already been destroyed? Which is, if it's true, they may have gotten the video, they may have gotten certain documents, but there's apparently he's thinking that he said it out loud, out of Comer's mouth. It's the deep state. They don't want this stuff out there. Now, if that's true, then why is Bondi lying about it? If stuff has been destroyed, then she should just come out and say it. It's like her messaging is constantly contrary to what's really happening. And it almost looks like lying, and then it doesn't quite get there. So I don't trust her now. I'm in Florida, and I don't trust her. And if we think that it's not working out, then, I don't know how we go for a replacement at this point, but I'm getting worried about her. I'll just tell you that.
Well, the thing with Pam Bondi is the fact that, and I contested this with somebody before in a space, and everyone's like, well, she's got a great record, but have you ever looked into her record when she was AG for their cases against child trafficking? It was one of the lowest in the state's history. She was not good at getting convictions on that, and it's just a historical fact. I looked into it myself. She did not have a great turnaround record at all. She did not have a good conviction rate. She failed at persecuting, I think, any more than 11 cases or something. It was not a good look. And in terms of that area expertise, she may be very good at other areas. Maybe I haven't looked into her entire record, but because this was the topic of what she has to take care of, I looked into specifically that. And she doesn't have a great record with it. And so we're struggling with somebody who, is a great attorney general, but she doesn't have the greatest, legs in terms of this arena. It's just not her arena. We could do a lot to, pressure her, but we have to also remember, if there were records destroyed, that's going to be above her pay grade. It's already happened before she got into
hold on, Destiny. I think she knows about, she's pretty good at one thing. She probably knows about the Qatar, whatever this is. Is this really happening? I don't understand these things. I didn't even know that one.
Yeah, no, I don't know either, but I want to check in with a couple of our hands since we have some hands up real quick. Jeremy, you're up, and then I got Chris coming on right after you. You can carry on the continuing conversation or add whatever you like.
Yeah, thanks, Destiny. Thanks for having me up, Mike. Thanks for the reminder. So I talked to my attorney about this because I was pissed off like everyone else. And that's when he explained to me what RICO is and the way it works. So in a RICO trial, if you do not wait and get everything together and bring them all in at one time, they have a thing called discovery. And so one person, so they bring in the first person. They say, okay, this is low-hanging fruit. We're going to go ahead and prosecute. We're going to indict. We're going to prosecute. They have the right to discovery, and then they also have the right to a speedy trial. And so then they can unravel all the rest of the people that they were going to bring in. And so it's not the popular answer. What anybody wants to hear, but it's going to take 2 to 3 years to build a RICO case. If you look up RICO cases, it takes a while. If you want now, do you want perp walks or do you want prosecution? Do you actually want convictions? And so I want convictions. I want to see people in jail for a long time. And so it's just going to take a while. I hate this too, but he explained about discovery. One person asked for discovery. Everybody knows who's on the list. And then all of a sudden they start covering their ass. And all of a sudden witnesses start disappearing and people start getting paid off. And so it's like a shock and awe. They're going to bring everybody together. And it's going to be one big RICO case. That's what he told me.
But there's,
Who told you this?
I haven't heard anything about there being any kind of like that. The prosecutors are pursuing any kind of RICO charges though. Like that should have probably leaked at some point if that's what they're going, because there'd have to be a lot of people involved in something like that, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, this is Hunter Lundy. He's one of the biggest attorneys in our area. And then I asked my fix-it man in Houston, where I moved from, and he concurred because I wanted to get multiple opinions. They both said the same thing. So I guess we'll find out soon. But I mean,
it could be.
I'm hoping happens.
Hey, as long as look, if it works out at the end, then I don't really care how they do it, you know. But I think that at least if you were doing that, right? I mean, couldn't you kind of give us some kind of little appetizer or something like that? I mean,
Well,
I don't know, just
so,
something to kind of tide us over until the freaking meal gets here. You know what I'm saying?
I went on the
They'll
AG
take their
website
tell and
last
run.
night, and there was 27 Trinidad Agua that they got on RICO charges, but they also confessed to sex trafficking and other crimes as well. So it looks like they are going after people with RICO charges to try to get them for the other stuff.
And so can they not leak any, like, is it, and I don't know about RICO, but is it better to not leak any of that information at all?
Yep, they'll take they will take tell and run is what they both told me. He told me the same thing, and they're two great attorneys. So I mean, we're not talking about $300. Yeah, we're talking about $1,000 an hour attorneys. So yeah,
I charge $300 for my attorney fees.
What about James O'Keefe's video tonight that released tonight that showed Prince Andrew and the friend of the.
Well, before we go into that,
before we go into James O'Keefe, let's just remember, and he is a friend, but he is also, a shock and awe type guy, right? And he went to Bohemian Grove.
Can I just say something on Pam Bondi before we move off that really quickly?
Yeah, let's hold on a second. Everybody, hold on 1 second. I want to go back to Maze. She was talking about
very
something.
Quickly,
I want to get her in there.
I think it's very reasonable for the American people to have an expectation for communication, effective communication. I mean, here I am, just a nobody, and I am able to effectively communicate that this is a priority and this is what's going on, and there are things that may perhaps prevent us from disclosing, and to keep it in the, literally every time she speaks, she needs to say that. There's a level of communication that will satiate people's desire. But what we feel frustrated with, I think, is the fact that it's just kind of left into the wind. And it's like everybody's here scrambling to figure out, is it a RICO case? Is it not a RICO case? Whatever it is, there is a way to be able to communicate that this is still a priority. And I think that is something that overall across the board, not just with this, is missing. And I think that that's what kind of creates these little confusion, not only the confusion, but the contention around it. Thank you.
I totally agree with Maze. Totally agree with that. I'm a grown ass man. We're grown ass men and women in this freaking space. You're telling me you can't just talk to us like you talk to the men and women that you work with, that in a non-confidential, non-freaking, top secret way. You're talking to your family about this stuff, right? When you go home with the confidential information, you still are talking to your family. It's not that I can't really talk about it, sweetheart, but I can say that we do have something. We have things in the works. We are pursuing this. It is, if everything goes the way we think it is, it's going to work out. Just a little bit, like what makes it, you can't just talk to us like we're freaking human beings. You have to talk to us like we're freaking third graders going, this is not something, right, that y'all you have no idea what's going on. We're government officials, and this is a government meeting, and not going to happen, right? So just sit back and shut up and let us take care of our business. That makes me want to punch somebody in the freaking face, man. I don't know. I mean,
me too, Mike.
I agree with you, Maze. I think that's exactly it. Just talk to us like we're freaking grown-ups.
She's been bad at messaging from day one.
And
It did
what that
not
would do?
work
That
out
would
well
make
having those
the-
influencers up there getting fake binders and all that crap. That was
That was
not a
insane.
good look at all. And that kind of brings us to what we're going to be talking about in a minute. And I don't want to go there quite yet, but about some of the XSpace hosts, people that jump in, jump out, stuff like this. You know, I definitely want to talk about that. But that whole thing about a bunch of people went up there, right? Because look, hosts get to go up there now to Washington, right? They get to sit in the freaking press room, and that whole deal. Like, is that something because they're being transparent, or is it because they're getting marching orders to come back and to spread the gospel? And so that it's not wrong for us to question some of these things, because some of their freaking points of views have changed dramatically, and we need to question the questioners. But I'm just wondering that binder thing. I don't know what the hell that was, right? But that was a mess. That was a fucking
disaster. That's exactly it was a slap in the face to anybody, to people like Ryan Dawson, to people like Whitney Webb, the people who like really covered this story. First, for them to be passed up as the givers of these binders, like, why would you not pick Ryan Dawson and Whitney Webb? Why would you not? They are the number one independent researchers on this issue. And Liz Crokin, there's like a million other people you could have picked, and that were better qualified.
Tell you why they didn't choose them.
I know why, because they would have instantly seen it and been like, guys, this is bullshit. Like minute out of their mouth, they wouldn't have made it with smiling pictures holding the binder. They would have opened it and been like, fuck this is bullshit. Actually, the unredacted version's online. Epstein'sLittleBlackBook.com. Like, you could find out all of it unredacted on there. And, they would have known it was a crock of shit. That was one of the biggest failures of this administration so far, I will say, was that release. And for them to have the audacity to put on the front of those binders the words "from the most transparent administration in history" was just an insult to injury. It was fucked up.
Hey,
I'm sorry, but I feel so like ripped off.
So this is where I think the rest of the people are legitimate in asking questions, because we know that mainstream media has been kind of abandoned. They're moving, I think, the propaganda and the mainstream news within the platform. And so people like us, who obviously have awakened at some point and realized that, is that what they're doing? Are they pulling people that we usually retweet because we are aligned in the same, side of politics, that it's now going to be coming from these people? And then also they can't control people like Ryan Dawson and Whitney Webb. And I think that there's an element of control there. They can turn the faucet on, turn it off, and kind of control how that information is released. And so therefore, that again reveals, to the people, or whether intentional or not, I think people are going to infer from that they're hiding something, and then that ruins the trust between the people. It causes divide within the party. I mean, it just becomes a mess.
I agree. They can't keep this up for too long. That's the problem. Is the people that are your base. One of the things I think is pretty unanimous, and proudly so, across the Republican Party is most people in the Republican Party are against child trafficking. Most of us are against the agendas that are pushing towards sexualizing children. We're against that. And so this is a base that this matters to us. It matters to us. And if you want to keep your base solid and you want to guarantee that you guys maintain the power that you currently have, you're going to have the support of your base. And if this is what your base cares about, then you'd better accommodate. That's the whole point of having a democracy within our republic, is so that we can make sure that our leaders are exacting the things that we wish them to do. So
Des, let me ask you something real fast, and then I'm going to go to Coyote, and then I want to give my beautiful best friend in the whole world, Gary Cardone, a proper intro. But Des, let me ask you this: if you passed the child trafficking bill right now, would it pass 100% through both levels of Congress?
Nope, but I bet an executive order would.
Isn't that strange though? Like, how if Trump wanted to get a bill through about child trafficking, how would that not just be 100? Not 100. How would that not just be like 100%?
Well, we have politicians that fund companies that are under investigation, and I put it in the purple pill below. And there's 4 politicians that we're paying over $1 million to a company that is officially under investigation by a government for trafficking children. Save the Children, which Jill Biden sat on the board of in 2017. They're under investigation by the government of Guatemala for trafficking children. This is like a Haiti Hillary thing all over again. So we still have these kind of people with these agendas that are willing to fund companies after it was universally announced they're under investigation for child trafficking. They still funded them $1 million each.
So let me ask you this real quick. Imagine we took these questions that we have right now, right? Because you never get these questions on television. No NBC's reporters, they're all hit pieces and they're just trying to get you, right? But imagine we took just the questions from this space that we've had so far, just today, right? And we had a forum where we ran it, where we set this thing up, and we had these people, had at least, let's say, 10 people come in. Each one of them had to answer various questions, and they're the questions that we asked tonight. Because these questions, they don't get asked anywhere where we get to view it on that little thing we call a television, right? We see none of that stuff, right? Why is it that we cannot get these people in a position to have to answer these questions? And I don't want them to be able to even prepare for it. I just want, and it doesn't even have to be factual. I want their opinions on these things, like, because your opinion also is going, like, you can still tie someone to their opinion. Why do you think this? Why would this not happen? And at least get some clarity into the way they think about this stuff. You know, I don't know. I have a hard time understanding that. Coyote, maybe you can help me out, brother. What, does that make sense? Am I phrasing it right?
No, you're saying it right. My jaw's just, it's on the ground, still on the Pam Bondi thing. Because I know a lot of things, but to hear that, but yeah, I saw Grant was here. I'm going to save mine for the topic, man. But yeah, you're right, Mike. This is crazy. It's pretty simple, right? Like, some of these things are very, very, very simple.
Why can't somebody on Pam Bondi's staff right now know that there's a space? Like, why can't you just have someone check spaces, seeing what the topics are, right? We'll put her name up in the freaking top, right? Put it in the title, and then have somebody from your department. If you don't have a spokesperson that can't speak for you, because that's kind of what a spokesperson does. If they can't do that, one, you should fire them. But if they can do that, why can't they come in here? Right? Why can't someone come in here and just take 15 minutes to talk to your people, right? Spin the space. We'll get it out there. We'll get 10,000 people in here and just have them answer questions. Go ahead, Jim. What?
Just put Fox News in the title and Pam Bondi will show up. I heard that, really, it works well.
But the thing about it is we know what's going on. Like, we know what should happen. We know that we need accountability, basic things, common sense, that we were raised like this. And that's why, Mike, they'll hear us talking about doing the right thing, and then that's not a part of their narrative. This is crazy.
It is
Good
crazy.
Space,
If they wanted it to happen, it would have happened right now. I mean, day one, they should have hired back the whistleblowers that know how to find these children, and executive orders to stop the trafficking and to stop all funding to all NGOs that have been under suspicion of child trafficking and abuse. Day one, that should have happened. Day one, first executive order.
So let me say, and I totally agree with you on that. Before we move forward, I'm going to get to some of these hands, but I want to give a little intro to my friend Mr. Cardone, who is in the space. Gary, it is good to see you. And one thing I'll say this: if you listen to Gary on Sundays during Gary's church, on Sunday mornings, it's kind of an ode to self-reflection, in the fact that you get to experience someone reflecting on their own thoughts, right? Which is something that, if you think about it, we rarely ever do, and we rarely ever put it out in public for other people to see us do it, right? And again, it's mixed with advice and positivity and affirmations and many of those things. But the thing I like, though, and Gary, tell me if I'm wrong, but I like to watch Gary kind of think about something. He'll chew on his pen, he'll tap his pen or his pencil on his freaking mouth, right? And he'll chew on that little pen right there, and he'll think, right? And he thinks about what he's going to say. But there's one thing, and I've always found that fascinating, but what I also find fascinating is that he calls people out on their bullshit, right? Flat out. Obviously kills Europe. Europe, if they probably would never let Cardone come over there to the freaking EU, right? Because the cat kills them every day. But my interesting thing, though, Gary, you talk about transparency, and I know that's one of the things that you're passionate about. Why can't we understand? Why can't we know this? Why can't we see it? It's one reason why you're a big Bitcoin person, because everything, it's the one asset out there, right? And this pains me to say it. but it is the one asset that's out there that is transparent. And so why can we get none of this transparency right now? And are you satisfied, Gary, with what you're seeing in the administration so far with transparency just in general?
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Good to be up here listening to you guys. Well, contrary to that it's simple, I would actually disagree. This is not simple at all. This is really, really complicated. And that does not mean that we shouldn't continue to pressure the administration. And I do mean everyone should, hey, that's just not acceptable. See, my bitch with Bondi is, hey, look, hot, look, AG, you're the one that said we would have all this shit in like 7 days, okay? I didn't say it. And then you don't perform. So, strike one, strike two. You got to give these guys a little room. Most certainly, none of them have ever done this before. Now, I went and looked at Bondi's. Like, I don't even know how any of these people serve, okay? Because, I mean, she did do some work for Pfizer, and the interesting thing is it's latest 2024. Now, that part, why no one brings that up, wow, just as late as 2024. I mean, I knew Pfizer was a criminal organization in, probably 18. Most certainly confirmed in 20. Moderna's probably going to go bankrupt. So this is what I'm going to propose if you give me a minute or two, because I think there's a lot of moving pieces here. This will be a RICO thing. I don't know who was talking about RICO guys, but and all that's required to file a RICO is that there is an organized activity to commit crimes amongst people, and that it can be shown that there was some motive for it. That's not exact. You can look it up, but it's not RICO was designed. This is the hilarious part of this whole story. RICO came about because of the mafia, and they realized that if they could trap everyone in a net, then all they needed is a couple of players, if the net was big enough, to start breaking down, surrendering information, giving up deals. And now 40 years later, we have a bunch of spies working for us that were criminals. And gosh, y'all are surprised we're here, right? I mean, just like we got here. There's a lot of moving pieces. So let's say that Epstein's list. I don't know why they keep talking about the list. Most everyone knows who's on the list, but I'm afraid you're going to find that you could have a financial freaking meltdown. Okay, like there is. So like where I'm trying to go with this, if this is truly a RICO case, and I think it should be, or at least the Epstein piece. I mean the P. Diddy piece. He's going to court here pretty soon. I don't think we're ever going to really hear the real story. I mean, I don't think the JFK reveal was like, oh, wow, that's mind-blowing, which I find really disappointing. Okay, I do. I find it really disappointing. And the only Hail Mary I can hold on to is, okay, they got in there. This thing is so much uglier than anyone thought. I do not think I've ever heard of a case or announcements being made about a federal case being filed, some of which will be for treason or should be. Like, very disappointed with the Fauci thing, but like we're going to be the last people to know, guys. Okay, yep. Absolute last people to know. Like I'm under a RICO thing right now. Like Gary Cardone is being sued by some class action clown suit. Sometime in May of 23, filed a suit a month after we settled the FTC case. So I spent $7 million from 2020, company spends, or 2018, something like that, FTC does an investigation on a company called Chargebacks 911 that I funded and I ran. And we get this FTC letter. Hey, we want to look at your business. We think you've been doing some naughty things. We let them into the business. I then immediately go to, my wife had filed for divorce against me. And then we get the FTC letter like a month later. Like, oh, this is going to be fucking fun. This is a big business too. Okay. I mean, one time it's probably worth $500 million. What it's worth today, who knows? But, so they send the letter. Takes me 2+ years for the FTC to tell me I'm up to $6 million in fees, for them to finally tell me what it is they think we've done wrong. And by the way, that's after I have to reveal my entire financial position to them. So this isn't even they have not even filed charges, civil or criminal, against me. This is it's called a investigation, something CID inquiry. And
they want to see a checkbook.
So I get to show all my balance sheets, right? And 2.5 years, I have a lawyer costing me. I don't know who was talking about Lundy, but this cat's charging me $1,700 an hour. Then you got a divorce going, so you have other lawyers, and then the company, of course, has to have lawyers because the two principals of the fucking company. So we spend $7 million, and they said, "Hey, look, we think you owe us $100,000." Now, the interesting thing here is all the lawyers, all 12 of them, all thought, "Hey, man, it's going to be minimum of $5 million." I'm like, "No way, dude. Not a chance in hell will it be $5 million. I didn't do anything. And if it's $5 million, fuck them. Let's go to court." Couldn't get them to go to court. They tell our lawyers, "Hey, we think we want $100,000, $100,000. We spent $7 million against a $100,000 FTC suit. 1 month later, I'm now divorced, April 23rd. A month later, I get a letter from some guy threatening, a law firm threatening. I mean, it was the most threatening letter you've ever seen in your life. Extorting us to pay him a bunch of money, or they were going to file a class action, and with RICO on top of it. Well, I laughed at it. I'm out of the business. I've been trying to exit for like 4+ years. And seriously, it's a joke of a case, okay? Because I have met with the principals of who they're claiming that we did RICO with twice each over 12 years, and one of them lived in Tampa. So normally, if they can show a relationship where you have consistent behavior between players and money's moving between players, well, once you start putting all these, if you remember the old movies, Mike, when, the Godfather movies, and you'd see the FBI in there and they'd be drawing up those pins. Well, Des probably does this, right? She probably draws all these pins of all the players. What if everybody's included, man? And I think everybody is.
So you're saying just time-wise, there's no way to get around just the time.
Oh, no, dude. This is going to be like, and who's going to investigate these things? This is global.
Because if Bondi's out of office, let's say in 4 years,
what if you were to,
if Bondi is out of office, then it just goes back underground, right?
What if we found out the last 3 Fed chairs were complete perverts, or that the CIA guy has been compromised for years? I mean, like, or maybe all the presidents of the major banks in the world are on the list and like have pictures. That would collapse the fucking market.
Destabilize governments.
Yeah, most certainly. So you already have, we know the most powerful monarchy on the planet's involved. So we're never going to really hear the real story unless we have a civil revolt. And it's just going to be about how much can they leak, how much can they put out to us that satisfies the masses, and the rest of us go to sleep.
The people holding the accountability.
Or we just massively demand system break. That way you get on the blockchain. Get on the blockchain and go, hey, look, it's going on the blockchain. You want to hide it? Cool. Put it on the blockchain. We'll let you know that it wasn't hidden. Look what they're trying to do in Europe right now. Passing a bill. No more dollars. No more paper. They're accelerating the no more paper thing. That's a disaster for freedom. Fucking disaster. Which means if they do that, look at what they've done to us. We will no longer go to Europe. And that's not cool. So whatever's happening, I mean, think about it, okay? Even if they go crazy, it still affects all of us. If you have family in Spain and you want to go visit them, you might have to do some shit that you don't want to do. And now we have a really, poly kind of globe. Jurisdictions, very slow movement, friction. I don't know that works now. So, right? So that should drive us. So I agree with everyone's anger. We should be angry because they came out, with his dick hanging down on the ground. Hey, we're going to put them all in jail. Well, fucking start with Hillary, dude. Start with Bill and Hillary. You said you were going to do that in the previous debate. Yeah, you'd be in jail. Well, fucking do it. I agree with everyone here. But it is complicated. If we're going to win, see, this is the other thing, the J6 analogy. Like, guys, I'm not willing to support breaking the laws again just because Biden's group did. Can't break the laws. Okay, we got to do this properly, and that means it's hard. Justice is hard if you're fair.
We need to revisit the Constitution. Everybody needs to start reading that more.
Sorry, I'm calling for my dog right now.
I was wondering what that noise was.
Well, I'm trying to get her to come inside.
I'll jump in real quick.
Put everybody to sleep there.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm glad you talked, Gary, before me, because I think you nailed it, right? It's like an entire world collapse. Now, here's the black pill, and I try not to black pill, but in a situation like this where kids are involved, I don't mind doing it. Look at America's allies. Our ally nations, the age of consent is as low as 14. If you look at like the special cases, right, where you have like 12-year-olds marrying 14-year-olds, examples would be like, say, Canada, you can be as young as 12 or 13. So in a world where our nations thinks it's okay for 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old kids to marry adults, do you really think anybody in Washington cares about the Epstein list if they're not calling out the crimes that our allies are doing? Imagine the optics, right? So if it comes back that these were 15-year-old kids, I mean, what is that saying to our allied nations that the age of consent is 15? If they're 16-year-old kids that were abused, what is that? What are we saying? We're prosecuting our allies that the age of consent is 16. Just go into Grok or ChatGPT, put in American allies ages of consent internationally, and it's disgusting. Like Albania, I think, is 14, and Croatia is like 14 or 15. This isn't going to be addressed. If it does, it's going to be addressed in here's your token sacrificial lamb. We fixed it. Yay. There's probably 40, maybe a handful of people they're going to throw under the bus. But the reason this happened, the reason they're taking it so slowly, like they don't really give a fuck, is because they don't. Because nobody in Washington is calling out the fact that our allies are marrying off young kids to grown adults. That's just the reality of the world we live in. It's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
Hey, let me do a mic check real fast here just to make sure. Des, you can hear me okay? Everything sound good?
Sound mask of the mic?
Well,
I hear you loud and clear.
That's the main thing. Sorry, I was almost lost it, man. It was
Destiny. Mike's, moving his package around. Let me ask you a question, sister. I mean, let's get some humor in this thing. We're gonna fucking kill ourselves. Destiny, what do you think about the Hitler thing? Do you think Hitler got transported, or do you think he died?
Well, I mean, I heard the reports that, people said that the president in Argentina released a bunch of records that he went to Argentina, which is something that I think a lot of conspiracy theorists have thought along the years.
Argentina's been a hotbed for Nazis,
exactly.
As has Australia and New Zealand. Yep.
Exactly. So, I think it's absolutely possible. And the rumor is that he also had a daughter, that he had got remarried and had a daughter. And I would like to see who this is, because, obviously she probably had kids, and there could be a living descendant.
Do you know who she looks like, dude?
Huh?
Do you know who she looks like to me?
No, who?
Christoph Merkel.
No way.
Angela Merkel.
Look at her, dude.
Yep.
Look at Merkel. Look at her.
Yep. He's right. Go look at the two together, and it's like, whoa.
I haven't seen a picture. I haven't seen the pictures. That's news.
The crazy thing is that could come true, and we'd be like, oh my God, but nowadays, I mean, anything's possible.
This is the point I'm trying to make. Exactly. I mean, I think the what we're asking on Discovery it has to go back before I was born. Because, I mean, dude, this is going to start, once you pull on one thread, you're never going to stop. There's always going to be threads. We're always going to be thirsty for, hey, but what really happened? So
you gotta go back to 1908.
Nah, sweetie, we got to go back to try -008. We got to go back a long way, unless you think, every piece of gossip and rumor and transfer of information 12,000 years ago was done without a computer on an immutable blockchain, didn't get altered, grossly altered. I just say we don't know anything about anything. Really. We've been lied to about everything. And if you're not told the truth, you're being lied to. So I think we live in a total fictional world, and we're always going to be thirsty for the truth.
Amen. I agree to that. And
amen, sister. Amen. And praised it. I'll be quiet now.
Amen. Amen. Sounds. I can't believe Hitler had a daughter. I thought you were going to tie it back to Destiny. I was like, yeah, it sounds about right. But that would be kind of weird.
What?
I don't know, Des. You never know. Nobody really knows who you are. You're kind of, nobody can contact you through DMs.
I mean this, Mike. Lutsch mein Schwanz.
Oh, she said it just
just coming out. Yeah, so it's a little bit.
Mike, did the moon landing happen or not?
We're not turning this into a conspiratorial space.
No.
Because I can't take
What's
it
wrong
anymore.
with conspiracy?
No, they didn't land on the moon.
I knew Maze. I knew Maze was going to jump in the moment she heard.
Is the moon real?
I think the point I'm trying to make is that is really important. If you're not willing to go there, I don't think we're actually ever going to get Discovery.
Yeah, but Gary, that's why they set it up the way they did, right? That's why they came up with the word conspiracy theorist, because they were lying and they needed a way to almost, obfuscate.
They needed to compartmentalize everything, so they had the ability to go, hey, it's not on my watch. What are you talking about?
1967 Warren Report.
Yeah, but not only that, the people who are willing to stand up and say, no, that's not what happened, or no, that's not the history, this is the actual history. They needed a way to delegitimize those people, right? They needed a way to be like, oh, don't listen to them. They're lying. They're crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. Listen to our history.
Absolutely.
That's what you do. That's what you do to the enemy.
Now they had to change the word to gaslighters.
Yeah.
But this also goes to the fact that, guys, we've already had the Epstein list, right? This is a whole psyop, and we're all falling for it. The list was leaked, and they came out and they were like, oh, no, that's not the list. Nope, not the list. Don't look at it. Don't you dare download it. Don't you dare share it. You're going to be banned, right? We had the list. what did we like? They've had plenty of time to set up a RICO case. They were setting RICO cases on January 6th, people, and arresting them. Okay, so like this whole excuse of like time and this and that, like, no. I'm not buying it. You have had plenty of time. There has been people working on this for more than 10 years.
So who files a RICO case? Walk me through in the first 100 days. What division would file a RICO case in this
DOJ.
Example? Okay, and who's running the DOJ?
Pam Bondi.
When's she come into office? How long has she been working on the job? Like I don't have the
calendar in front of me, Gary. So I don't really know.
I bet you it's 60 days. Like
okay, but how long have we been working on this case? There has been lawyers. Everybody acts like Jeffrey Epstein and all these people have never been on trial before
sister,
with this information.
It's not the only case. I mean, like, what isn't included? There's so much going on here. What's the most important? Is it that case or is it Hillary Clinton?
Gary, so how much time should we give them? Should we give them another 6 months and then are we allowed to get mad? Like, how long is the distance between the time like we're allowed to give her?
The way I just got dished on the moon landing thing, okay, that tells me we're not like, I don't think you're ever going to get satisfied.
I'm with you, Gary, on the moon landing. I think it's critical. It's a linchpin.
What it's just one example. I could come up with 100 examples of where our history is nothing, absolutely nothing near what we would most people would explain it to be.
Why did the Titanic sink, Gary?
I don't know.
Water.
That'll answer a bunch of questions if you look into it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Federal Reserve.
I think it predates all that too, though. So that means that we don't have any facts. I just think you're going to find that very few people are untouched with this case, and I'm sure people are getting lots of phone calls. They're lawyering up. I can't. There's going to be conflicts of interest on the lawyers. Like, once you start representing one side, you're not going to be able to represent everybody. I mean, they're going to you can't even. Anyway, there'll be all kind of legal shenanigans going on.
Well, it takes a couple of years, just like you said, for RICO.
Well,
I explained before.
No. I didn't say it takes a couple of years. Okay, it does not take a couple of years. They slow played it. Okay, they were draining me, dude. This is what I hate about the Democratic division. It become a police state because all they were doing. Remember the part of the story I tell you? Hey, they forced me to show my bank account. Well, fuck, dude. We know how much he's got. Let's hit him for this many hours. Total fucking extortion.
Don't you think they're waiting for the midterms?
Hey, that's the FTC. Okay, that Bondi served under Florida. That's what's her name, Khan, and then the lady at the SEC. I mean, most scathing report on the head of the SEC and their investigations into a number of different companies. It's staggering. Total criminals. So you're talking about a hotbed of enforcement authorities who you can most certainly bet. Look, that's why I don't do politics, because I would have to become evil. I can't sit there and watch the shit and then just close my eyes to it. And so if you live in that world, I mean, come on, this is what we're dealing with. I just don't see this happening to the extent you want it to.
I'm hoping that everything drops before the midterms.
I think that a lot of people just want to see arrest, just one. Like, I think a lot of people would be satisfied with one arrest. I think a lot of people would be.
A traffic ticket.
You can see the proof of that with people being satisfied for 60 years for the whole. Okay, we're going to give it to Oswald. We're going to blame Oswald, and for 60 years, a lot of people were satiated with that explanation. But we just need just an arrest. It was such a con job that Epstein himself.
Who would you like? Who's enough?
Mayorkas.
One, and it doesn't. I don't even care who. Just one person that was responsible.
Mayorkas. He was impeached, and then a week later, it was overturned in the Senate on a point of order. And it was because at the Health and Human Services Committee hearing, I mean, they admitted they lost track of like 323,000 children. I mean, it's insane the level of like, I mean, outside of what Biden did in terms of opening the border and reducing all the regulatory kind of pieces that were like, for instance, the DNA tests and for the sponsors to have background checks and all this and that, like that was one thing. But Health and Human Services was responsible. Well, the Department of Homeland Security, they dealt with all the intake. And then, you know, there was like clear proof that he, you know, I would say that it was overwhelming evidence that he made very bad decisions that led to those kids getting lost. And then when he was impeached, a week later, it was Mike Johnson, I believe, that came up with the point of order, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look
Maze,
into it.
has charges been referred to the DOJ out of Congress? Because if you have someone testifying in front of Congress, I mean, that crimes were committed, here's the black and white evidence. Don't you think that at the end of the day that Congress should have, I don't know, referred some charges over to the DOJ?
The thing about it is, it's like, you know,
they have, I mean, against the mayors who were harboring illegals, Anna Paulina Luna referred charges to all those mayors.
Okay, so why is there one speed for one side of it and another speed for another side of it?
But the thing is, like Gary, like, okay, so if you got employees, if they lose something or lose sight of it and something comes up missing, like these kids, there needs to be accountability. You hold accountability. That's the whole thing about it. There's zero accountability. They don't care, and the people don't care enough to raise enough hell about it. It's just plain and simple.
You're acting like there's just missing children. Okay, we have Tara Rodas and other people that have come out with evidence saying that the Biden administration is a middleman in the trafficking of children worldwide. We have that information. It's been testified in front of Congress.
So this is why I asked the question, hey, who would you like as the head? And y'all pick somebody that I've never even heard of. Why wouldn't it be Clinton? Why wouldn't it be, I mean, go to the very top. Isn't that what you want? I just think you're always going to want someone else. And it's a whole group of people, guys. I would rather get the whole group of people.
I say give us a shot. Just give us a chance. And then if we aren't satisfied,
I mean, it's actually ridiculous. Just let me explain to you. Once that RICO filing occurs, okay? Now, mine is not a government RICO filing. Mine is some class action lawyers that just want to, grab some cash. I think they've already grabbed like 12 million from other players by just dragging them out and doing this process. When they do the RICO thing, they're gonna want to know everyone involved, and as soon as you know that, I mean, you're gonna initiate an awful lot of lawsuits, man. And lawyering up. I just think it's much more complicated, especially if you want to, really win. I mean,
what can we do with the constitutional sheriff?
There should be 400 or 500 people at least in this.
They had Diddy's RICO case set up pretty fast.
I took
Can
2
I
years.
actually make a comment
years.
about that real quick? Because this actually kind of leads into something I was trying to say earlier. So I'm going to just say something I don't know if everyone on the panel is aware of, but right now there was an active lawsuit in the Southern District of New York called Jane 1 through 12 versus FBI, which is Epstein victims 1 through 12 who were not publicly named yet are currently trying to sue the Southern District of New York for negligence. And apparently there's some law there that Pam Bondi, as the head of the DOJ, has to defend them as much as she may not want to, but by law she has to do that. And apparently what I'm learning is that on May 20th, they have until then to come out publicly to refile it, because apparently the judge, who is also the same judge, it turns out, who is going to be in the Diddy case, said, no, you have to come, rejected their request to remain anonymous. So they have until May 20th to refile it. So if you release all these names now, that could potentially compromise the case. So what do we want? Do we just want the public information, or do we want to see results? So again, that's just what I'm thinking. I'm not trying to make excuses, but I'm not saying that. But also, I remember a lot of times I'm seeing posts from Dan Bongino. Like I just saw one that was from a month ago where he says, just because you don't immediately see it doesn't mean it isn't happening. So I'm saying that, and I'm just saying, like, if I've watched Dan's show for years, and I know that he is he is a doer. Him and Cash are doers. They are not people who are just bullshit artists. That's what I can say about that. So I'll just play in there, my plane there.
Has anybody watched the Tucker Carlson interview that he did with the financial lady the other?
Hell yeah, I did, Sal.
Yeah, I watched part of that.
I stopped watching Tucker Carlson a while ago.
Wow.
Well, no, I'm talking about with the financial advisor.
Because he's being why?
Hold on. He talked about the financial connection. Maybe you guys mentioned this already, and somehow I missed it in this conversation. But what Gary was talking about with all the financial ties globally, how it would collapse global markets, I think that's like totally why. And it's not just Epstein. They're trafficking our kids through CPS, through the foster care system, through these boys and girls homes. Our police officers are involved. We have mayors involved, senators, governors. Like this thing is so huge. I mean, I talked about a case on Monday, and I'm not going to go into today because I don't have the heart for it. But just even giving kids back to their parents after they've sexually abused them, like this stuff is going on every single day. Epstein is one piece of it. This problem is so huge to the point where I spent 6 hours in a space being called a cracker because I'm trying to bring awareness that everyone's focusing on the N-word when there are bigger issues that we can unite around. And it's just like this problem is so huge. And I don't know how we tackle it. And we can't just go. The RICO is the only way that I know that we can go after it and get everyone in a fell swoop. That's the way I see it. And yeah, the banks will collapse. The world will collapse because they're all interconnected. The banking system, the corrupt politicians, the drug lords, the cartels, they're all working hand in hand to do all this. And it's $1 trillion industry per year. So I don't know. That's where I stand with all this.
Okay, real quick before we move on, we got a lot of hands we got to get to. A lot of people are requesting to get up
Chris
here.
Chris has been waiting a long time. But we have our co-host. It's like Chris.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I want to go to Leon and get him to jump in here, and then we'll hit some of these hands. Before we do that, I want to remind everybody down the bottom right hand corner. Go ahead, retweet the room, and don't forget if you want to join us for the after space. It's 99 cents, baby. It's the best 99 cents that you'll ever spend in your life. $1. Subscribe, join us, and we'll make fun of Destiny for about an hour. Absolute blast. Because, I mean, look at her. So, anyway, go ahead, jump in there. Leon, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, so there's so much talk about who we should arrest, how many people should we arrest. So I think it's a good time to quickly poll the room. Send a thumbs up if you'd rather have one person arrested tomorrow or 20 people, or a thumbs down if you'd have 20 people arrested in, let's say, 2.5, 3 years. I'm genuinely curious.
I'd probably want to wait. I mean, I don't want to wait, but I know that patience is probably the best way to go. I'd rather go ahead and.
I'm impulsive, Mike.
I know. I'd rather get them. I want some now, but it's like, man, might as well. If I knew that that's what they were doing, though, right? Like if I knew that we were going to get, I could wait if I knew that they were going RICO.
If we knew that's what they were doing, then the people implicated would be either lawyering up or fleeing to
that's
countries
correct. That's
far
true.
away.
Yeah.
What if they like
Leon,
guys,
there'll be people already in Hollywood. See, I think all these cases are connected. So there'll be probably 150 people in Hollywood that cannot leave the country. They've already been advised, hey, you're a subject of this investigation, or you're somebody of interest. So I mean that the Diddy case has happened. See, that's my point. I think that we're going to see some fireworks because, well, hell, didn't somebody just die, have a suicide that, like she said,
Virginia Giuffre, the top Epstein victim.
I really don't. I don't underestimate when I say the word civil revolt. I actually believe that there's so much, like, we're going to a point where something has to happen because you're just going to have, if they get away with it, no one will trust the system ever. Not anybody conscious. Like, I don't trust any doctor, hospital, pharmaceutical company. Fuck all of you. I don't trust any of the heads of divisions of 3-letter agencies. All I have to do is read 5 independent committee investigations done at the request of other people, and it's it's hellacious. Okay, it's what's the words they use? They use horrible terms like capricious. So it's not our imagination. We should most certainly demand it. What we probably need is more experts in each area that feed, like, we need to feed each other better and better source data. What do you think, Mike?
I agree. I
love it, Gary.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think we've got to. Data is really the thing that we don't have enough of, and it's not relayed to us. There's no way to access it, and the ones that we get it seems like the data that we get now, it's easily debatable and arguable to the point where unless you have an absolute expert in what you're talking about, it seems like those things can be shot down. I don't know. I was listening to what you were saying. It's kind of frustrating because it just seems like that we're not having the impact that we should have. And I'm just trying to brainstorm in my mind how we go about doing that.
But you remember the legal process here. They're going to be, everyone gets paid to delay.
Yeah, true.
So this is going to be, and I do think that we go back to previous periods if we actually want the true transparency. We all ought to start reading a lot of history long before this, I think, because if I'm right, and we're looking at, oh, hey, what happened? Who killed JFK? And it's like, no, dude, let's go look back at the year 12. I mean, or before that, right? If we have any of that out of whack, I mean, key first principle issues like gravity or other things that perhaps we could have chosen but didn't. I mean, what king, suffocated his wife who was, pregnant with her bastards? You know what I'm saying? I mean, how many kings are really the DNA strand of the actual family? And a fucking entire history is completely obliterated with lies, guys. Look at what we're doing now. You think we just started lying to each other like this? Fuck.
My thing is the Bolshevik Revolution.
Gary, it boils down to history is written by the winners, right? Like losers aren't writing history.
Absolutely. All right, look, let's get to some of these hands real fast. We've got Godfroy's been up, very patient, brother.
Chris.
Appreciate you being here. Jump in there, brother.
Yeah, thanks, man. Just to answer Gary's question, there are 4 people who could be arrested as soon as today, according to journalist Nick Bryant, who broke the Epstein flight logs and Black Book. Nadia Marcinkova, Leslie Groff, Adrienne Kelly, and I can't remember the other woman's name, but they were procurers for Epstein. They could be arrested as soon as today, and they would flip on the entire ring. So I'm just going to go through some very troubling things that we should all be talking about, and a lot of influencers have avoided because it's not convenient. The Epstein Trust is going to receive a $112 million tax refund this year. Virginia Giuffre was killed off. I don't believe she committed suicide at all. Her father wants an investigation. He doesn't believe it. The Binder Gate. Are you kidding me? They released a binder of Nick Bryant's work and had the audacity to redact it and had the audacity to put a paywall behind it. And Pam Bondi's name is on that shit. That is the only window into, quote, Epstein justice that we have. You had James Comer yesterday saying all the files have been deleted. And then Pam Bondi wants to reassure us today that the files are still there, that they still have the evidence, and they're still working hard with 0 results. And Mike, I thank you for having this space because we have to talk about this. There's been too many influencers who have not asked these questions because it's not convenient, because it's not worshiping at the altar of Doge. And that's what people want you to do. They want you to worship at the altar of Doge, to worship Trump, and to not ask these questions. And then regarding the RICO case, I'm not going to accept that because that's an explanation for no justice. A RICO case could take 5 years. It could take 10 years, especially with these kind of people involved. So I'm not willing to sit back and let a RICO case play out when we know that Nick Bryant has told us through his research there are 4 names that could be arrested as soon as tomorrow. Thank you.
Appreciate that, brother. Yeah, and just to say one quick thing. I'm a Trump supporter. I voted for Trump I've voted for Trump 3 times. And there's a lot of things that he's doing that I totally support. But there's nothing that I would say on this site or to someone in private or whatever that I wouldn't ask him his face. Like when I said earlier about, what is your opinion, Mr. President, what is your opinion of why these things? Like I would like to know what his inside was. And I may, I have a disagreement with him. A lot of people can't disagree with him or they won't disagree with him. I can disagree with him, but I disagree from a point that I want him to succeed, that I support him and his policies in general, because that's what I believe. It doesn't mean that I'm right on every single thing that I believe, but there are things that I want to see happen because that's fundamentally how I believe. And so I want to see him be successful. I wanted to see Biden be successful when he came in office and he gave that speech about uniting people at the beginning. I wanted that to be true. I wanted my president to be successful. I wanted, the CHIPS Act. I wanted him to put, when he pulled out some of our people from China that were working over there, or if he, called for a no-fly zone over in Ukraine. Like there are things that I say, I get where you're coming from that. I want you to be successful in that. And I just want to make sure that that I don't want to turn this personal against anybody at all. And I want it to be very clear whose side I'm on. And we're going to move to hands right now. I just want to say this real fast. And Coyote and I were talking about this earlier. Honesty is a huge, huge thing. And you never have to worry about what you said 6 months ago if you were being honest, because 6 months later, you're going to answer the question the same way. There's no hesitation. You sleep well at night. It's a really, really good life, right? And so honesty is watch this, just for everybody out in the audience. I support Donald Trump. That's me, right? That's where I lean. Now, could that change? I don't see how it's possible unless he wound up killing somebody. I would not be one of those people that freaking support him if he shot someone in the middle of Times Square. I would not be one of those dudes, right? Be like, yo, Don, whoa, bro, what are you doing, right? But that's my mentality. I think if we are clear about how we lean, it kind of clarifies the questions that we ask, that we're not trying to undermine somebody. It's like, oh, I see they support this person and they're trying to question the people that they support. So anyway, that's my thing.
Said. Very well said.
Des, I can't see all the hands. I did see him a minute ago.
Chris's hand has been up for a lifetime, and then I believe we have Alpha and Sally, Moneypenny, and Jen.
I don't even see Chris on the stage.
He was on stage just a second ago. Where is he? Okay, we don't have Chris anymore. Never mind. Go ahead, Alpha.
Yeah, I'll just be real quick. Just to provide a different perspective. I think a lot of people, and I blame Crime TV for this, because you start the show and 30 minutes later, they've gotten the fingerprints and they've identified the suspect and the trial's starting. And in real life, that's nowhere near what happens. I think a lot of people are operating under the assumption that when Pam Bondi took office, she went in there, went over to the big cabinet that said Epstein filed and pulled out all the boxes, then was ready to send order to the courthouse. And that's definitely not the case. And I think we can all agree that the DOJ that we've had, and in parts of it still, are very corrupt, which means you've had decades and decades of people covering up evidence, trying to destroy evidence. So not only are you looking at 250 plus victims in the Epstein case, but you're also looking at the investigations that haven't been investigated. And those are all the cover-ups. Those are all the independent agencies, the attorneys, the lawyers, the judges, everybody that's been trying to bury this case of why it hasn't ever gone to trial. So yes, this is most definitely going to be a RICO case, because you're going to have people like Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and the handlers and the recruiters and the victims. But on top of that, you also have Rule 16 with federal criminal procedure. The second that first indictment goes out, and I agree, typically cases, everybody tries to prolong it because it benefits the defendant sometimes, and sometimes the prosecution. In this case,
I would anticipate them using that first defendant as a sacrifice because we have the constitutional right to a speedy trial. And so the second that first defendant says, let's get my arraignment done and let's go, you have somewhere between, I think it's 14 to 21 days, it's usually in that window, where they're now entitled to the vast majority of discovery that exists, which includes wiretaps, statements, witnesses, physical evidence. So that means anybody else that they're still monitoring, any other investigation that's going on, every one of those people is going to be aware of it. So I think everybody's screaming arrest, but arrest is nothing if you don't get a conviction.
Absolutely.
Conviction is the most important thing here, and making sure that all the people that are responsible for this, at least the ones that are still alive, are the ones that we get these convictions on.
Alpha, I want to ask you a quick question, and then I'll let you go on. Mace brought up a good point earlier. But the problem though is that Pam Bondi, she did, like the binder and these kind of things. Like this is and Gary said this as well. Like we didn't ask her to come out and say this stuff. Like we have kind of,
we did
through osmosis. Yeah, and I know the moment I said that, that didn't come out exactly the way I meant it. But the thing is though, is it would have been better. Like, why couldn't you just address it and give us an explanation that explains it in a way that appeases us to a point where we can give you more time? Because that binder thing was, I think we can all agree that was a mess, right? And that's what I'm saying is, why can't we be talked to? I get it. Look, in the school system they do it, in the workplace they do it, and there's no reason to think that politicians wouldn't do it. But man, if people could just explain it to us like we're not 7. Like we are big boys and girls, and we can grasp the concept of, and I'm not saying you have to say, look, we're going to be filing RICO charges against them, but something, even if it's abstract, but something that leads us down the path that I feel like they know where they're going with it. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
They absolutely know where they're going. And so the first thing is, there's a lot of people on this platform that are complaining about Pam Bondi going on the news and talking about all this. But we spent the last 4 years complaining that the DOJ wasn't giving us information. And now that we're getting the information in a routine manner, now we're saying, why is she always on Fox? She should be just doing this work. So people are just always going to complain because people have a bone to pick with this administration. The other side of it is, everything that she said on Jesse Waters that was going to be released got released. Now, as far as we knew there was going to be multiple phases, I think 5 or 6 phases. That was a part of what we were aware of. The other thing too is, I think this administration is well aware that there are a bunch of people, whether it's social media people, podcast people, radio, mainstream and alt media. We have a bunch of people that are compromised in leaks. So I would not put it past them for them to be figuring out where these leaks and stuff are coming from as well. But at the end of the day, we all want our DOJ to tell us exactly what's going on. And that's the worst thing that can happen right now. They don't get I think someone asked, how much time do we give them? We don't just give them a blank check saying, hey, you have this indefinite amount of time. But I think we got to be realistic, and to give them a window of 9 months to a year to see moves being made. I think that's very realistic, especially when we see FBI agents that are getting arrested and DOD people that are getting moved out. It's showing that the FBI and the DOJ are looking internally to the corruption that exists. So we're expecting them to pull off the biggest investigations in our nation's history. At the same time, we're expecting them to remove the infiltration and the treason that exists in these institutions. And at the same time that they're doing that, we want them to tell us everything that's going on. It's unrealistic.
But Alpha, is it realistic? Is it realistic to ask them to speak to me the way you just did? Because that would work for me. That would work for me. You know what I'm saying?
But the thing is, I can speak like that because for me, I'm putting out a theory. Well, if Pam Bondi was to come out and say what I said, it's no longer a theory. Now we know this is actionable information of what's going on, and people that know that they're on the other end of those investigations could start making the moves that they need to make to protect themselves.
I just believe with all the questions that we're asking, and I'm not saying at all that she's doing anything corrupt. I'm not implying that. I am like a lot of people say, I'm asking questions, right? I feel like I'm stupid
basic
sometimes.
Level of respect, right?
Yeah, I feel like there's no reason for me to talk to Destiny like she's stupid, even though I do it. But
here, I'll use an example.
Okay,
because we know in Epstein, I think it's like 240 or 250 victims. Like there's over 200. If you just looked at one of these cases with one victim at a local office where you're not dealing with corruption, you're not dealing with buried evidence. If you were looking at just one case, one of these Epstein cases with one victim and one suspect, you're talking about start to finish. By the time that gets into court, the fastest something like that would go down is probably 6 to 8 months. That's with one suspect and one victim. Now, look at what we're dealing with here. 250 plus victims, multiple suspects. We know that they've been trying to bury evidence. We know all the corruption that exists, but we expect it all to be done and arrest
No.
people within 90 days.
I don't expect, like I said, my dad was a detective.
I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you. I'm talking about like the collective.
I'm saying, but like my dad, we've talked about this in private. My dad was a detective for 37 years. I've heard some of the horror stories about what detectives have to go through to be able to get cases and stuff like that. And yes, you want the arrests. My thing is though, is watch this. So I'm going to talk to, there's 500-600 people in this space. So this is what I would say if I was talking to them. Guys, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I just wanted to go ahead and make the announcement right now that tonight on Say Something, that I have got information regarding the Epstein files. And I want everybody to understand here. I know this is not going to go on everyone's timeline. It is not going to work out exactly as everybody wants. And I hope to be as forthcoming as I can be with regards to the law in this case. But I want everyone in here to understand this. There are going to be arrests made, and those arrests are coming. I promise you that. You have my word on it. And if I do not deliver that, all I'm saying is that I will resign from this position. That is how confident I am. I want you to trust that we have a path and that there are going to be arrests. Now, and again, they're not going to say it like that, but there's nobody in here that would misunderstand what I just said. And they wouldn't get that flesh, that meat that they wanted, right?
But they would. That's not true, Mike.
How's that?
And let me tell you why it's not. Well, this is why I can tell you that's not true. Okay. Because you've had Cash Patel and Dan Bongino that have both done that, and people are still complaining about it. They both have come out verbally and in posts and said, just because you guys don't see it doesn't mean things aren't happening.
That's all talk.
How are you going to say it's all talk? They just arrested an FBI agent at the JFK International Airport 3 weeks ago with 133 classified documents for an international flight. How's that all talk?
Because it's not related to Epstein or Dr. Fauci. It's one lone agent. That's why.
You're not in the office. You don't know you don't know what those classified documents were. You just had over 200 suspects arrested in child trafficking. You have multiple MS-13. Everybody's complaining about these MS-13 arrests and saying, what does that have to do with it? Do you think the Hillary Clintons and the Adam Schiffs are the ones going down to the borders to pick up their victims? No, that's coming through MS-13 and cartel members. So you have this administration that's taking down the foot soldiers for this. At the same time, we know that these corrupt deep states, they're using the National Endowment Fund and USAID to facilitate this human trafficking. What did this administration do? Through Doge went and showed all this money laundering. So you have this administration that's taking the banks that this deep state responds on or relies on, and it's taking the foot soldiers that this deep state relies on, all while doing all this stuff of internal cleanup. And at the same, and people want to say nothing's happening. And we're only just over 100 days into this administration with everything else that's been accomplished, securing our borders and all that, and the whole list of things that they've done.
But what this administration has done, release though, it's not good. It's not a good look.
That's not what you have to, because you also have over
involved in that.
You have over
right?
Dan Bondi was.
Hold on.
Dan Bondi was.
See,
it's not a good
what
look.
we need to do here is realize that yes, for the last 4 or 6 years, whatever, we've been dealing with complete corruption. I get it. But 6 months ago, all of us, like Dan Bongino, we wanted him in this position. And yet when he's in this position now, we're holding him to the same standard of the people 4 years ago instead of the man that we knew in these spaces, on the radio, on TV, right? And another thing is how much time have we spent on Epstein, guys? How much time have we spent demanding the release of these documents when we should have been concentrated on all the other shit that needs to get done before Donald Trump leaves office? I'm not saying it doesn't need to get done, but if this is a waiting game, there is a whole host of topics that we should be talking about and not letting Marjorie Taylor Greene get away with taking victory lap yesterday because she got her bill passed, which officially renamed a body of water that all of us are calling Gulf of America anyways. We can't let them take minuscule shit and try to make it big, so we ignore the other stuff. And we need to not get distracted on something we have no control over when we're ignoring the shit that we do have control over.
Go ahead, Alpha. Jump back in there. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go to Des real quick, and Alpha, we'll let you. I'll let you finish up what you were saying. Go ahead, Des.
No, it's directly on the topic. Okay, like the idea that this is because it's such a large case that this cannot be sifted through in a timely manner is bullshit. And I will point to evidential proof of this. Earl Bradley, our country's most prolific child rapist, surpassing the victim count of Jeffrey Epstein. From the moment the investigation began in 2008, the convictions for over 529 cases of child abuse, 14 first-degree counts of rape, 7 accounts of assault, 3 of child exploitation for over 1,400 families was completed by 2011. That's 4 years. 4 years they were able, less than 4 actually, under 4 years they were able to get that he then got, what was it, life in prison with 165 years on 14 life sentences. That was possible just by Beau Biden. So I don't want to hear that it's been since 2019 was when he was supposed to go to trial. We're now in 2025. You're telling me we can't do the same kind of push to get this taken care of? I mean, I just don't think that that's a good enough excuse. I just don't think it is. We've seen the cases with larger, more intricate. They also had to go over 13 hours of video footage of these children being raped for this and talk to the 1,400 families. So I don't think that it's impossible that by this time we couldn't have had an arrest.
Des, let me ask you this real quick, and Alpha, I'm coming to you.
So here's the thing that's
hold on real quick.
Too.
Hold on real quick, Alpha. Hold on. I just want to say, isn't it possible that we're not getting this information because there's something going on with these Epstein files? There's something, like, isn't it possible, like to be a good art, like, isn't it possible something's happening that we're not aware of? And that could be that they actually are trying to prosecute behind the scenes, or that there's these deep demonic type freaking ties to so many people that are so entrenched in this evil filth, right? That they have so much power that even the most powerful people in the world simply can't overcome it. Isn't it possible that something else is at play here, that no matter what our explanations are, we're just not quite hitting the mark? Like,
I don't know, Mike, because Beau Biden also tried the heir to DuPont Chemicals and convicted him from raping his own 3-year-old daughter just a year after this case. Which he sustained. Of course, there were plenty of people that were tied with DuPont that sent him death threats, along with the attorney general, not the attorney general, but the acting judge at the time, Judge Jan Jorgen. She was given death threats, and they still continue to prosecute the case because that's what you do when children are raped.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just wondering if if the evil is just so, it just has permeated its tentacles are just so deep in everything that that somebody in some group has the ability to say.
Then they need to resign and give it to people who have the cojones to go full bars against the wall on this issue, because it is an exponential issue. Child molesters create child molesters. That is a statistical fact. They have to be arrested. They have to be put in bars so they cannot proliferate this sickness any further into our society.
Yeah.
No excuses.
No, I get it. Yeah. I just wonder what they have. I mean, there is a lot of blackmail going on in this country. I can tell you that right now. Go ahead, Alpha.
Yeah, the Earl Bradley case, it's apples to oranges. Earl Bradley wasn't being protected by the government. Earl Bradley didn't have the DOJ and politicians that were bearing evidence and tried to conceal these crimes because they also weren't implicated. This is a unique situation because the vast majority of suspects
exists. Even from what they buried, even what we have now, there's enough.
There's a difference between probable cause to arrest and jury instructions for a conviction. And the thing that I'm trying to get everybody to at least consider is we're dealing with cases that involve cover-up and corruption. So that means at the same time that you're investigating the atrocities that were committed, you also are going to find other investigations that involve the cover-up, which simultaneously have to be investigated. That no matter how you peel the orange.
When is an acceptable time for accountability? Is it 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Is it like a COVID thing where it never is going to happen?
No, I think it'll be a couple of years before it completely finishes, but I think it's very reasonable to expect an indictment within 9 to 18 months. I think that's reasonable. But I think even at that point, because you're going to have outside of the defendants that cooperate, you're going to have ones that are bringing up witnesses and they're going to try to drag it out. So I think it'll actually take a couple of years to get to its conclusion. But I think it's very reasonable to give them a time frame of 9 months to 18 months to see that first indictment.
So Alpha, let me ask you this
Because the
real
other
quick.
thing that they have to do at the same time, Mike, is our courts are still corrupt right now. We see that going on. And we need to make sure that when these cases do go before a court, it's not a court that's still compromised by a George Soros judge or a George Soros attorney or prosecutor. I mean,
That's a great
there's so
point.
many issues that are involved right now.
Yeah, that's a great point.
But if we
rogue
continue to
judges
wait, won't this be just like the Hollister Abercrombie guy who, by the time we wait, these people age a certain age to where their lawyers are able to make the excuse they're no longer competent to stand trial? Like that will certainly happen with Fauci. Like if they continue,
it happened with the president.
Some of these people are definitely in their 60s. I mean,
I agree with you
Epstein
on that.
was.
I do agree with you on that, Destiny. I think three things we're going to see is one, I think we are going to see people use their mental capacity as an excuse. I think the other two things that we can prepare ourselves for is the way they rolled out AI and how fast they rolled out AI in these videos. I think we're going to see a lot of these people using these videos and, this stuff that we're going to see. They're going to say that it's fake, that it's AI. And I think that was the whole reason a lot of this stuff got rolled out. So there is a real possibility that we're going to see some that we're not going to like. But at the same time, the other legal obligation that the prosecutor and the investigators have is the victims in these cases that are still minors, that are not adults, those have to take priority because the second they're aware of it, they have to make sure that they're in a protected environment. And in that situation, because you have leaks, that can tip off suspects. So there's so many dynamics behind the curtain that make this complicated when you have a DOJ that still has corruption that exists in it, that it'd be unrealistic to think that she could pull this off in under 6 months.
So Alpha, let me ask you this. If we're back here next June, right? And we have made, and we can mark this, but I would be interested to know what should we be talking about now if we've made no progress and we have no more information than we have now? What would be your thoughts next June? Like, how would you feel like what would be your personal thoughts about what the direction we're heading?
If we haven't seen any traction in Epstein's direct case, the only way I could see where that would make sense is because we're seeing a whole lot of discovery happening in the Diddy case, because we know a lot of the suspects are going to be in both cases. And so if we see massive movements within the Diddy case, which allows them to make some arrests and indictments that we see, I think that would buy them more time in the Epstein case. If we're not seeing that kind of movement in the Diddy case, then I would say if we haven't seen nothing in a year from now, I think we should start being concerned and then start pushing really hard on why.
Okay, so that's okay. That's fair. Then we're thinking that it might take some time. So we can go with. It's already June. It's already May right now, right? So we're almost in summer. So by next summer, which for those of you who are getting older like me, you know that that's like about 6 weeks from now. A year goes by. It's freaking almost Christmas again, for God's sakes. I just opened my presents a couple days ago. Time sucks. That's a totally different space, and I'm just bitching because I'm sick of getting older. So we'll do that. Well, next summer we'll reconvene. I guess I know it sounds like a long time, but we will. We'll see where we're at, and hopefully we'll be able to. Dustin and Jen are always good about their New Year spaces, right? We check back on what we talked about a year ago. So Jen is in charge of that. So next summer, next June, Jen, you are the one that's going to reunite everybody. And it's going to be an America Mission space, and we're going to see and do an update of where we're at. Sound good? Thanks, Jen. Thanks for chiming in there. America Mission, you can always count on them. All righty, good tip. Good talk. Jen, thanks you can get by with a pretty profile picture, and I say otherwise. Sally, jump in there. And Money Penny coming to you next.
I will make mine rather quick so you get through the rest of these hands. On Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern time, I will be having Nick Bryant on for a second conversation about all this stuff. So if you guys do have questions about Epstein, please come in. And if you want to be on the panel, DM me so I can save you a spot.
Hey, can you put, do you already have that ready to go and you want to put that up in the nest, or?
I haven't made the link because I'm afraid to make it too soon and have it crash, but I'll make it and I'll post it.
Okay. I wouldn't do it right now, Sally.
And Mike, if you skip over Chris one more time after Money Penny, I'm punching you in the gizzard.
Do I have a gizzard? I don't even know if that's True or not?
Oh yeah.
I was fixing
located
what I was
right
fixing to
next
say
the Republic.
before I do that. I was going to say everybody go up into the nest and check out Dez's thing on Beau Biden. But now I'm not going to say that. So I don't want anybody going up to the nest and looking at Destiny's piece on Beau Biden, which is it's really pretty good.
You know what? I think what was it? Like 5 million people already looked at it. So, sorry, you're going to really impede.
Bro, you know how many times I had to hit refresh to get those
really
numbers up for you?
So hard.
Good Lord. I'm like, refresh. I'm like, I got up to took me like a year. Money Penny, I'm going to go to Money Penny, and then I'm going to Chris. Money Penny, jump in there. Good to see you. How are things on the other side of the pond?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Are they really?
Sorry.
Is it really okay over there where you're at?
Well, it's not brilliant, but I mean, I could talk for hours about how crap it is. It's our politicians are desperately awful. The reform comeback in the elections has been seen as staggering, but it doesn't do anything about changing our government imminently. And we've got a very weird, volatile weather, which is a little bit closer to the types of things that I think are big issues at the moment. You suddenly got onto lots and lots of Epstein stuff. And I think some people in the room know I am a damaged child abuse victim myself. I find it very difficult to listen to it. So I would also say that I had to wait 15 years until the person that abused me was arrested. And he was never charged because he died the year before they were going to do it. So if you have to wait a few months for this Epstein stuff, if you have to even wait 6, 12 months for this Epstein stuff, remember the children at the other end of it, please, because the children have already been damaged. They're already suffering. They're already listening to their parents, probably having the same argument that you guys have been having again and again and again. And much as we want those bad things behind bars, it is not a matter of waiting a few months. I waited 15 years. The average time that a child abuse victim waits for their person to be put in prison or even looked at is years and years and years, 10 years plus. So a matter of months is not a big deal, guys. Just remember that bit. It's more difficult being reminded of it, which is difficult to avoid. And I know it's an important subject. But you will be pleased to know that I don't like to call him Prince, but Andrew yesterday was denied the ability to go to the VE Day royal celebrations and everything revolving around VE Day. He was banned from yesterday. Hopefully that'll give you some level of comfort. It did me. I know it did. I think it's horrible. But on a bigger issue, I just wanted to get your eyes on the thing in the sky called the sun. And more importantly, you were talking cover-ups. You were talking about the Titanic when I came in and whether or not we can believe anything we hear. And I'm not sure everybody is aware, but over 250, 300 million people this time last week had no power in their homes. Several people died as a result of it. And those people, whether they be in Spain, France, Morocco, the Canary Islands, or even in Bali, which it happened in a few days afterwards, have not been given a real explanation of why it happened. In fact, there is no explanation. There are people wording their way around it. But I have discovered, with the help of a few other people, it is down to the testing of electromagnetic weapons by the military and the governments, and it is damaging the ionosphere. And the Texas earthquake that you had at a 5.7 magnitude about this time last week as well could have easily been, advanced, explained to everybody that they should do something about it. But the weather data is being wiped, and that is the cover-up I just wanted to point out to you. It has never happened before, never in history, but in the last 3 days, the most crazy solar endangered weather and something called the Schumann resonance frequencies, which damage the human brain and the human organs. The weather data was deleted. The space weather data was deleted by NASA, and all other big global operators deleted the Earth's weather data. And I think that's a bigger picture thing. And I will warn you now, if you look at my profile, there are still some very dangerous elements around. So be careful, love each other, look after each other. And thank you, Mike, because you are superb. And I'm very grateful for you letting me speak.
Always good to have Money Penny in here. She is so eloquent and so passionate, and you can always hear it in her voice, and it is always a pleasure to have you in the space, Penny. So So yeah, and I'm desperately sorry for what you've been through, and not getting that satisfaction is yeah, I could imagine that's pretty frustrating. And for you sharing that with us, I am grateful, because that just kind of puts it into reality, And so and without you sharing that with us, it doesn't quite strike home unless you know someone or you've been through it or something like that. But for you to add that, I really do appreciate you, Moneypenny. So
As a
anytime,
child, you are abused, but as an adult, you are scarred for life. Once that abuse has taken place, it is with you for life. It is the time zone that we should be thinking of when we think of the children at the other end of this argument. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you.
No, you're absolutely right. And the fact is that as we speak, as you tell your story, it is hideous what some of those kids are going through, literally, not for a cliche, but literally as we speak. They're having to go through that hideous fear and just absolute horror of what is about to happen. And it's frustrating. That's not even a word it's not even frustrating. That's not even the word. I don't even know if there is a word to describe that, but I guess we do it piece by piece, right? Money. We just hit at each brick and try to knock the building down.
The passion is in the right place. It's just that a matter of weeks or months will not change or alter the ultimate victim at the end of this. When you divorce, you put the children first. When we argue about Epstein, I think we should still put the children first.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. I appreciate that, Moneypenny. Jump in if there's something you want to say. Just feel free to jump in anytime. You have an open mic, and I appreciate you being here. Chris, my man.
Are we sure here?
I don't know. I still don't. I see you as a listener. I mean, I don't know. I don't see any hands up, to be honest with you. So,
is there anybody else you'd like to hear from first?
Actually, there is. Let me call some people up. Can you give me about 20 minutes?
You want me to go real quick, Mike?
Hey, why not? I mean, Alpha's probably wouldn't finish what he was saying. Shut up, Chris. I sent you a voicemail the other day and you didn't respond. So this is your response to my voicemail. Go ahead.
I love you, Mike.
I love you too, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Destiny. I appreciate your passion and your loyalty and support. So, to Coyote's point, we have a civic space every Tuesday. You're welcome to attend. We talk about the Constitution and educate people on that, and it's a valuable tool to help people become aware of what they should know, what they may have forgotten, and what they may have never had an opportunity to learn. They don't teach history anymore. They don't teach civics anymore. And basically, their goal is to dumb down the society. And so you wonder why my focus has moved to important things like the investigation of the Missouri cheese caves.
Not doing it, Chris. Don't, not doing it.
I think that there have been a lot of good points made, and I believe that we are going to get there. I think that there are too many people in this country that have had enough, that they're not going to give up. After the last 4 years, there's so many things that we have all been abused by. So many people who have been damaged in many ways because of a scandalous and corrupt government. Many of the people who
are still inside this government who are being weeded out as I speak. And, you know, we can't even get, we can't even get the appointee for the for the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia out of a House committee because you have members of the House who, for whatever reason, still believe that January 6th was an insurrection. Now, they believe that because they're being paid to believe that. But if you don't have somebody in that position, if you don't have good people in charge of these key offices in the Justice Department, and you don't get rid of the people. I mean, you just heard George Santos in here a couple of hours ago now, who was abused by the Biden administration during the Trump administration because that office still had not been cleansed, because the new U.S. attorney for SDNY, hasn't been there that long. So it takes time for these people that are coming in to put the people in place and to get rid of the people that they don't want in order to make things happen. It's just not an overnight process. I mean, there are over 4,500 appointments that the president has to make. And, he got his cabinet in pretty much in record time. But there's, the assistant secretaries, the assistant U.S. attorneys, all the way down the line, these line prosecutors that have been rogue and who are in bed with, these liberal judges that they judge shop. They have to be dealt with. They have to be moved out. They need to go someplace else. Hopefully some of them to jail for the things that they have done. And that doesn't even begin to take into consideration the crimes that came out of the Department of Health and Human Services. The damage that came out of there. Health and Human Services is responsible for the 300,000 missing children, or maybe 400,000 missing children. That's not the Homeland Security. That falls under Health and Human Services. The kids that have come into this country that are missing, and the foster care system that has been corrupt to its core for it probably a century or more, where you have these CPS offices and police departments and politicians working hand in glove to rip children out of loving homes to traffic them. And it happens all over our country. One of the most famous cases was in Washington State back in the late 90s. And if it hadn't been for one minister who refused to buckle and who brought in a federal prosecutor to take down everybody in that town, it'd be going on to this day. And so everybody would love for all of this stuff to happen right away. They would. But imagine if you walked into the Justice Department and you, for the first time, laid your eyes on these cases and realized that nothing had been done for the previous 4 years, and maybe well into the Trump administration and the Obama administration, that these cases just had not been touched.
Yeah, I look at I know it's overwhelming, Chris. I get it.
Yeah, now you have to put this together, and
True.
and you have to make it stick. And there are people who are not alive. There are witness statements that are not going to line up, and you've got these victims who are like Moneypenny says, they continue to suffer regardless of what happens.
True. So, I get it, Chris. You're absolutely right. Look, it is overwhelming, but look, I hate quoting Mays every 5 minutes, but what she said earlier was right. Like, you just talk to us, like explain it to us. You know what I'm saying? Like just give us something. And I'm getting DMs, people saying, "Oh, it's not about you. It's about so." No, it is about me. It absolutely is about me. Because I'm a citizen, and these are elected officials. And you can at least appease me, and appease me not by giving me some kind of evidence, but appease me by making me feel like that you know what the shit you're doing. Instead of throwing out a bunch of binders with a bunch of cuckoo freaking influencers, and half of them are as ditzy as a freaking bird. Okay, so that doesn't fly. It just doesn't fly with me. I'm not saying she's corrupt or doing anything bad. I'm saying just be a human and an adult. That's it.
Let's look at what happened last week in the Oval Office. You had a reporter ask Donald Trump point blank about a situation where people had been wronged, and what was he going to do about getting these people reinstated and getting their back pay? And to somebody's point earlier, the president had been so insulated, he wasn't even aware that had gone on. And to his credit, he said, if I have to take the money out of my own pocket to pay their back pay,
yeah, I heard that.
I'll do it.
Yeah, I remember that. And that was a good answer. And I think that we ought to ask him some of these basic questions that we can at least get his opinion on them, right? Because that's the kind of answer I like. I would like to have an answer just like that. If it has to come out of my own pay, I'll pay their back pay. I like it. Okay, that sounds good. I don't know if Trump's going to pay their back. I don't know if he's going to do it. I don't know how it's going to work out. But I got something that at least, like, all right, answer to a question. I'll be damned. Be funny. Oh, this was funny. Quote Doc Holliday. Tombstone.
Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate you giving me the mic. Thank you for your excellent space. Thank you for your support. God bless.
Appreciate you, Chris, and I love you always. You know this.
Love you too, Mike. Love you, Destiny.
You don't have to mention.
Love you, Chris.
Forget Destiny, Chris. You had it. You had it right the first time. By the way, follow Chris. Follow American Mission. Follow your hosts. Follow Network Access Group. Follow Leon up there. Follow Destiny. Follow Alpha, Gary, Mays, Sally, Coyote, Moneypenny, Chris, Just X, Live One, and everybody else. And the people, we got some people requests. We're going to get them up. We're going to hit a couple of these hands real fast. And then we're probably going to wrap up here in about 30 minutes or so, Des. Is that about right? And then we'll head over to the after space.
We have Live One and Coyote with their hands up. I tried to pull it down and make sure I could see all the hands. So that's the only hands I see. I will do it again and double check here. But
well, Coyote has the hands of 3 men. Okay. Alpha might have the biceps or whatever it is of 2 Asian chicks or something. I don't know. But Coyote's got the hands, 3 grown men. Let's see. Coyote, let me hear your voice. Does it sound like 3 grown men? Go ahead.
Yes, Mike.
That was perfect. Wow, that was incredible. Jeez. Okay.
It hurt, actually. It kind of hurt.
Yeah, it does hurt, bro. Sometimes you got to push yourself. You know what I'm saying? Don't be a Bondi. Stop. Go ahead.
Oh, man, I know. I appreciate it. And y'all know me, but I'm finna do my thing because I've just been kind of sitting here in awe. And Chris, I love that y'all are doing the Constitution. I'm kind of working on something. I'd like to get some people together so that we can do it. And if people, this is the thing about it, people are hearing that, oh, they're trying to read the Constitution. Yeah, we're not talking about 1776. We need to get back to our patriotism. We need to understand these things. Do you really know the Constitution? You know, we could all revise it. So here's the thing, man. We got a lot of stuff going on, and there's a lot of doom and gloom, right? And I was big time on this 100-day thing, because I was one of those guys that was like, all right, quit saying it's been 20 days. It's been 25 days. He's only been in, you know. The fact of the matter is, well, Mike, what you said earlier is exactly right. Our government is so corrupt at this point. I mean, you got a few good men up in there trying to do some work. I don't know if somebody's speaker's open. Anyway, sorry about that. But the thing is, it's like, you know, looking at the title, we got to be real, and we owe it to the audiences. We don't talk about enough things. I talked to Mike today about something that if we brought it up right here, it would seem awkward. People would get you know, a little tense and stuff. But I talked to the man, and it wasn't awkward at all, because that's the thing. It's not awkward. A lot of these things, we're picking and choosing what we talk about, and we got to stop that. People need to get the news. They need to get all of it. If we got something and we're withholding information of what it is that we know of our knowledge, what are we doing? Is that right? I don't think that's right. And that continues to enable and allow these things to exist. So people are going to have to get real. They're going to have to get uncomfortable, and they're going to have to start voicing, you know, their thoughts on some of these things, and putting some facts out there with it. And that's the thing, putting facts out there with it. There's a lot of opinions, and it's like, okay, opinions are cool, right? But if you're going to do an opinion, and especially influencers, you need to tell people that you're doing an opinion, because these people take it literally. They take it serious. They're going to go do or think the same way. We've all done that. We've all put something out there on a, you know, like put a post out there, and the next thing you know, other people are posting it. You're like, what the fuck? Yes, that's real. So if we're here, we don't want to freak everybody out, right? We don't want to doom and gloom, but we got to be real. So we got to keep a cool tempo. We got to be able to talk about some things that are uncomfortable, and we got to maintain our coolness. And
Hey, so Mike, on Coyote's point, the reason I came into this space 30 hours ago was to discuss truth on, you know, in these spaces. Are we becoming mainstream media, or are we going to become influencers who then convert to the other side? I would most certainly compromise everyone on this fucking show possible. If I was trying to do something naughty, it'd be so cheap to do it. I mean, CIA would be like, wow, this is easy. Wasn't that what we're going to discuss? Because I think that's really good. I don't know who's taking money, who's making money from this, or I can only listen to how people communicate on a consistent basis, and then, you know, figure out, hey, are they a paid agent? Are they an independent agent? Or are they, you know, I really do look for inconsistencies, because I think the ignorant man is far more dangerous than the criminal.
No, and we are going to, actually, that's going to be
thank you. I'm so sorry. I thought you were getting ready to close in 30 minutes. See, I was so pressured to get this conversation up, because I don't think I'll be able to sleep tonight unless I get it off my chest.
Well, the bath should help you do that, though, Gary. That's what calms you down. God, I'm looking right inside his window doing this space remotely. It's uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I know.
But he's a good-looking man, and there's no way to get around that. So, and we know Destiny's likely in her bathtub 80% of the time.
Did you see what I posted?
I did.
While we were all, you know, looking, here's the upside. While all this chaos is going on, the governor of Arizona, who vetoed the bill to put Bitcoin on a strategic reserve, has reversed itself after New Hampshire said.
I did not see that.
Oh, she's reversed it.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that she reversed. She may have approved a different bill, but basically she's doing the first step, what Washington did, which is, hey, if we own crypto, we're going to hold crypto, and then we're going to convert it to Bitcoin. And if we have stranded, stolen assets that have been left behind or that we seize, we're going to convert it to Bitcoin.
I heard her make an argument that I heard her argument, and I didn't like her argument. Her argument was something along the lines like, it's too volatile. And stuff like that.
She had just had a massive reversal.
I bet some.
Now, what we don't know.
Wow.
What we don't know. Well, Texas is next.
Yeah.
See, I think there's starting to be political pressure. People are like, hey, people care about this. Because I guarantee you that lady in Arizona, y'all should really hammer her, the governor, or congratulate her for reversing her decision. Because look, that went through every hurdle.
Yeah, it did.
Senate, Congress, blah, 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 got full approval, and then she vetoed it, and then she reversed. There's some hope.
Yeah, and I think
it's interesting that it's related to Bitcoin, right?
And I think that the tariffs, Gary, that we've talked about this. I think tariffs and all this stuff is all around digital assets. I think getting the Fed to drop, getting liquidity, and I think it all comes down to digital assets. And that's why I was really shocked the fact that they would have been the first state, if I'm not mistaken, that would have done that officially. Am I right? Out in Arizona?
She blew her political career to say I was the first, and really blew it. Like, she really had it. Now Texas goes. I think Texas will go. But it's interesting, just 2 days ago, to the point of the conversation here, because I must say, there's an awful lot of people that are on these spaces, and I'm like, hey, what are they doing? But like 2 days ago, the amount of criticism that was slung my way, I find it entertaining. But if I look at it from a third party perspective, an overreaction or emotion to, oh wow, what happens to all the Bitcoin guys now that the governors are? See, I think people must have thought, okay, this is going to get moved in. But then when it gets knocked down, people start crowing. And it's very interesting because within 24 hours, those very people have exposed themselves, seriously exposed themselves. As why are you exciting so much emotion? Like, this isn't over. It's not one state. So anyway, there's a lot of disinformation, it seems, either intended or unintentional. It's still a problem, right? If I'm ignorant. So who's the bad actors? I mean, like these, let me just ask the question. Okay. So these big shows, okay, so I do the Sunday church show. I have never taken any money from anyone. Like, I've never asked for any money. I think I get sent some tips every now and then, but I don't even know how much I've gotten. Okay. But I'd be willing to share that if needed. When I do the church, how many people in here? 700. Okay, so when I do the church thing on Sunday mornings at 10:30, I would love people there. Family friendly, it's awesome. There's, I don't know, it says there's 4,000 people somewhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours, okay? So I don't know if that's 2,000 concurrent or whatever that is. And then I see some other rooms with 14,000 people in them. And then I see this room, or I see other topics that should have a lot of room, a lot of people in them. I'm just wondering how many rooms are actually human beings.
Well, there was 400,000 people in Alex Jones's live stream a minute ago, if you believe those numbers. Or it might have been 600,000.
I have discovered at least 5 people who are buying bots for their rooms, and I will send you a DM, Gary, of how it is to spot out. And because what they're doing is they're organically, like, everyone's like, oh, this is a huge room, this must be a good conversation. And once you go and realize that there's only 150 people in there, when it says there's 1,000, because you can count who's listening, right? Yeah, there's a way to tell who's paying for bots. This is something that I've been really researching.
Yeah, you look for blue check marks, right? Like if they have 4,000 people in there, but only 20 of them have check marks, then it's probably bot.
Well, yeah, I think you count down a certain number of rows and you can tell how many people in there.
If your impressions are only 4,000 and you have people sharing out your space, and the space says they have 30,000 people in there when it concludes, that is a botted room. So you look at that when the space concludes, how many impressions did that space have total, and how many views did it have when the space concluded? I found at least 4 people that are buying bots for their rooms, and it takes away from those who are actually putting together real information and doing their work to put together, and it could be a fun space too, but putting together real information. And so it's been really discouraging And no, I am demonetized. I only get money if you subscribe to me or tip me. So just putting that out there. The information I held it. What are we doing in these spaces? I held an emergency space to try to advocate for people to actually make phone calls to the governor of Florida, the Jacksonville. All the contact information was spoon fed to them so they can send emails, make phone calls to let people know that they have a police officer who is at a high school that was. There was great evidence that he had raped his 18-month-old to 4 years old, and the Michigan had effed up the charges. He got sent back down to Florida and was now an officer at a high school. So that's the type of rooms that I held. But I don't know what else. I mean, sometimes I do FOMO, sometimes I do research, sometimes whatever. But it's honesty, and I think that some people speak on authority on topics that they have no business speaking on authority on. And I think that people need to start having their facts straight, or say, this is my opinion. This is what I think based off of this. And stop speaking on authority on things you don't know the truth or all the facts on.
Well, Sally, real quick. So I got people that DM me. One, they all want to know. Alpha just DM'd me. Let me read this, what he just said to me. So this is coming from Alpha. This is a private DM. Hold on a second. Mike, do not share this with anyone. This is your friend Alpha. I know that, Alpha. I saw it came from me. I just want to let everybody know that I am a paid op. Okay, so Alpha finally came out and admitted. For all those people who accuse Alpha of being a paid op, I got the DM.
Could have told you that.
It just came in. Got it. He confirmed it. Alpha, I appreciate your honesty, bro. I don't really know why you had to confirm that was you that sent that message, because I could read it. But I appreciate that.
Haven't we all been called
everybody? Yeah, if you that's the deal. If you disagree with anybody, they're a paid op. Everybody's been through it. And again, maybe we're right, maybe we're wrong, and maybe it gets so confusing that you don't even know. But the bots are not discouraged on X, right? If they were, then it's easy to identify where those things are coming from, right? You could knock those out pretty quick. Am I right? Or
I mean, I don't know. I've noticed times where the room would get botted, and when I put it into the space host, in Dilly's space host thing, and he said that he was able to send it to get, I don't know, analyzed to see who did it. But I never heard any follow-up. It happened. It doesn't happen to me a lot. I mean, it's happened, I don't know, a few times, but it was not that long ago. It was when, let's see, Zensei did a space. And anyway, and it was a gradual increase, which was very interesting. And then it was a gradual decrease. And I was like, well, they're getting better at it, because I think one time it used to come in the chunks, Yeah,
anyway. And they also, Maze, and you probably know this, they also bought other spaces.
Yeah, that was somebody botting that space.
Yeah, they bought their own space, but then they bought the other top 1 or 2 spaces. They fill them up with not as many, obviously, but they fill them up with bots, so it doesn't look like that it's 10,000 people in this one space, and then you got our space with 700 people in it or something like that.
Well, I think what they're testing is the bot ramp up and decline. I think that they do that. They would rather do that on another space than it actually fail the first test on their own space. So, because there's, the ones that end up putting thousands in there. I mean, when you have 2,000 people, in the matter of minutes, it's
So let me ask you this. Yeah, no, I absolutely get it. So, but going in, we were talking about kind of what Gary was talking about. We're talking about, the deception and the lack of truth and this kind of stuff. Do you think that, that is kind of that is dishonest, right? To bot a space.
Yes, I think it's absolutely the only reason you would be doing it, unless there's one that I don't know about, but the only reason one would be doing it is to attract more people in there, and it's based off of something that's false, right? You don't have that many listeners; those are bots, so it's dishonest. It's attracting.
But it does work, right? Right. We do see people who bought their spaces, and I don't want to call it any names, but if anybody else wants to, I don't care. But we do see those spaces that are botted with a huge number, and we go in there, right? And for those of us who have been on X for a while, we look at the top, like Destiny was saying, we look at the top several rows, and we can tell by who the speakers are. Space is botted. Like there ain't even good. Don't say that y'all don't do it because you know you do. You go in there and you're like, there ain't no good speakers in here. And
well, there's only like maybe one space that I'm aware of that intentionally does it. I don't know about others, but it's usually the ones that are in the thousands, multiple thousands. Like I've seen spaces like, Dilly's space, he gets up to like 1,000.
Yeah,
that's organic.
So who are the bad guys?
Well, I don't want to say bad guys, but if that's what he's doing, I know Mario's space was one that was always, I don't know.
I think it's pretty safe to say if you have Mario as your host of the space, it's botted. When's the last time you've heard Mario speak out loud? Right? I mean, am I wrong with that? Or Gary, you remember how they used to have that? We used to listen to the crypto spaces in the morning. You'd have your boy.
Yeah, I do those.
Yeah, I listen to him too. But Mario's never. But Mario's never on there. He never speaks.
I think it's the crypto people, and like let me pick my words, carefully.
What do you mean?
Okay, before I stir up.
See, Maze, what I'm trying to do, I'm not trying to point fingers. The first thing I think all you guys should be interested in is what is the actual addressable market on Twitter?
I think you're right. I honestly, 100%.
I think we're in a toilet bowl and nobody wants to admit it.
Well, if you had Diligent running this site right now, if he was running this space and he had this title, and he had and it was Diligent and somebody else say Hitch Slap or something like that, Diligent would have, if we have, and I'm just making a note, let's say we have 600 people in here, Diligent would probably have close to 1,000.
Okay, cool. Now this is my point there. Okay, one of them wouldn't be me. Okay, so this then gets to the next point. Oh, how large is the human addressable market? And human is, you probably need to be above the age of 18, right? Like, I mean, I just want to know. Then I want to know the demographics. Then I want to know socioeconomically, where are they? Well, why would the 4,000 people that have a net worth of $22,000 on average show up to a finance show? See, to me, those are really important things because otherwise we're actually not even addressing the right market, the right target market. I mean, none of us know what is the quality of the customer. Hey, if I can get Gary to subscribe to me, I like that. And I think that's the piece that we should, there should be quality, not quantity.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think, no, look, if I start this space and you come in the room, the numbers in this space are going to go up, right? I mean, that's just the fact. The longer you stay in here, the longer we're going to maintain those numbers. That's just
well, the truth is, if we said Gary Cardone says Mario bots rooms, which I haven't said, I heard said here, or say something outlandish, we'll get 300 people in here. I mean, if 100 people just repost the fucking room, there'd be more people in here. See, that's what you have to do. Because you don't know if Mario is figured out a really slick way to repost and do things. You can't blame, I'd automate the shit out of this. I mean,
well, that's exactly, it's automated.
Yeah, exactly. He's put some money into it, so you can't blame the guy.
No, not at all. I don't even have a problem. I even talked to Destiny. I'm like, hey, maybe we should bot the space, make it look better. She's like, what the hell are you talking about?
I don't think so. That's the piece we should be asking Elon, like, bro, you're Superman. I mean, the bots cannot be that big of a fucking issue.
If there's more than, let's just say they can come up with a number, but if there's more in the listeners section, like in the anonymous, there should be a red flag that goes off.
Maze, that's interesting. Now, that's very interesting. I think the anonymous people are the most interesting people.
They're the most interesting?
Oh, for
the
sure.
tunnels?
Well, but I'm saying whenever a space is botted, that all the bots, like there's a ton of them that go into the it could work as an indicator, like an indicator flag.
Yeah, no, I don't. There are times that I just don't want to be called on. I just want to mind my own business and listen.
Me too. That's why
there are, I think, billionaires that come here, and they're coming here anonymously. They are my most interesting audience, Maze. I'm stunned that you said that because I think that is the highest key player, the anonymous guy, because he's not saying anything. Why is he there?
Right?
The
media.
Well, whatever, dude. I'm sure they don't even have to show up. They can bot it, right? They can CIA, everybody will be here. Awesome. But I'm just saying, to me, the anonymous people, I think there's a few good reasons to show up anonymous, and they're not all bad reasons. And
I agree.
They could actually be, oh, wow, he just, Mark Soros or Humana Abedin or, shit, man. JP Morgan.
But
They're
it's
not
the
going to pop
ratio,
on
though,
here.
Gary. But it's
What's
the
that?
ratio. It's the ratio of actual live listeners
we
versus
have
anonymous.
We have no data on a platform that's just so able to grab you all the data. It's just stupid. It's
so true,
right? It really is. I mean, I don't even understand. Everybody must think we're idiots, but we just need the analytics, and it should be very, very easy. How many fucking bots are there? How many social security numbers are there? How many people are paying? I want to know who pays. If it's 98% of the people don't pay, then why are you guys spending 12 hours a day busting your ass if you don't know what the addressable market is? You're giving up, like you're the see, we are the content. That's the cool thing. This platform is worth nothing if we don't show up.
I've seen them bought the subscriptions only spaces. Even it was crazy.
Yeah, what's the purpose of that? They must be
Alphabot. Yeah,
I still don't understand the purpose. What's the motivation for doing that?
It gets people into the space because you see the large numbers and you think it's FOMO, right? You feel like you're missing out on the big space and you want to hear what's going on. But for new people here, it works on them, right? It'll get them into those spaces. For those of us, we can look at the first 3, 4, 5 rows and we know whether or not we're going to stay in that space or not. Am I right?